What is going on, everyone? This is Torch contributor Frank Peteani back with another edition of Pro Wrestling Then and Now. It's been a little bit, but back in the saddle. And today we will be discussing In Your House episodes 3 and 4 from 1995 WWF, continuing the journey that we have been on all year. And we does not only consist of me, but it consists of my co-host who has been bravely along this ride with me, doing a great job. Please welcome back your friend and mine, Mr. Jon Mezzera. John, how in the hell are you tonight, my friend?
I am doing good tonight, Frank. How are you doing?
Oh, just fantastic. Ready to talk about these two fantastic shows. I mean, listen, you know what? They were not terrible to watch. These In Your Houses are easy. They're short, so they're easy to get through. I mean, if these were like 3.5 hours, like we see with today's actually like more like 4 with all the commercials and all that crap, I think I'd have to go nuts. But and of course, my buddy Zach, he's got to start right in. Better luck next season, Frank. Yes, of course, he's talking about Camp Scatterboo breaking his ankle and being out for the year. So yeah, thanks, Zach. Well, I'll be keeping an eye on Dak Prescott for you there, buddy. All right. Zach, my main man. Justin's in the chat. What's going on? Yeah, anyway, we are reviewing In Your House 3 and 4. Just real quick, we'll recap what we did previously. We covered In Your House 2 and SummerSlam 95. That was a couple of months ago. It's been a little bit. It's just been really busy around the house. My wife started a new job. Between my work schedule, and I'm not going to get too personal. We got a lot of things going on in the house. It's just been difficult for me to set time aside. And I'm not going to kid anybody. That, in conjunction with the way WWE has conducted their business recently, I've just been so turned off. Like, I nearly didn't even want to do this show anymore at all. Like, I know it's a nostalgia show, and what does that have to do with what's going on today? Well, I still, try to keep up with the current product that's called Pro Wrestling Then and Now. And they've just turned me off so much that between, with Saudi Arabia, WrestleMania going over there, and, the Brock Lesnar return, the ticket prices, all the stuff with AEW, the bully, it's been a lot. And the rollout of this ESPN deal. And John, that's a good segue to you, because I don't think your provider has worked out a deal yet with ESPN.
Correct. No, it hasn't. And it's Comcast. It's not like a small, it's not a little one. It's one of the biggest cable providers, right? So, yeah, I have not seen anything since, I don't know. I saw SummerSlam. I don't know, whichever the first one in ESPN. From then, the last couple I have not seen. I will not see, presumably, whatever is next in Survivor Series. I won't see unless we get a deal worked out. I will not pay $30 for something I've been getting basically for free. I was getting, $10 for the network for several years, and then when it went to Peacock, I get Peacock through Comcast, so I'm lucky enough I don't pay for that. Every year I get a thing from Comcast saying, this is the last year you're going to get Peacock for free. Starting next summer, you'll have to start paying for it. And then fast forward a year, I get an email saying, we've decided to extend your free Peacock for another year because you're such a loyal customer. So, I don't pay for Peacock. I guess you could say I pay for it by having that Comcast. But anyways, I'm not paying
You'll
$30.
get Saturday Night's Main Event this week. You'll get that.
Yeah, because that's on Peacock. And I get the NXT PLEs are on Peacock, but I haven't watched one of those in a while just because I don't want to. So yeah.
There was a time like last year I was getting into it, and it was more because it was kind of like watching the minor leagues. You could see those guys, and then you could see them come up, you could see the girls or whatever. So it's kind of cool. But it's still like it's got to be a quality product to sit there and watch for 2 hours every week and watch a PLE every month, and it just wasn't doing it for me, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm watching the weekly show, but I'm not enjoying it. It's more trying to be as close to a completist as I can, or wanting to maybe have a, because before I started watching it several years ago, for instance, when the Wyatt family first got called up to the main roster, I wasn't watching NXT back then.
Yeah.
So it was like, who are these people? And I think WWE has done a historically poor job of introducing those acts to the main roster.
Oh,
So it was almost like I need to watch NXT just so when they get there, I know who they are.
right.
But I'll tell you this, I was watching this week's episode, and Allison, my wife, will sometimes watch a little bit here and there with me. And she happened to be in the room when I was watching it, and there was a scene with two women in the back. And I said to Allison, I don't know who either of those two women are, and one of them has a title belt. So that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And one of them, she was the Evolve champion. I don't watch Evolve, but that's part of the problem with NXT now, is that they're doing NXT wrestlers, they've got TNA wrestlers, they've got Evolve wrestlers, they've got LFG wrestlers, they've got occasionally AAA wrestlers, and sometimes, I mean, they've literally had episodes with all of the above in one show, where it's just like, I don't watch TNA. Now, I know some of the wrestlers from, like, well, that wrestler was a former WWE wrestler. They were in AEW, or Frankie Kazarian, who's been around for 100 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but some of them, I don't know who they are. I don't know who these Evolve people are. I don't know who these AAA people are. And so I'm just like, oh, it's really hard to follow. And the storylines aren't, I mean, Shawn Michaels is not a good booker. I'm sorry.
Not for nothing. It's like he's not, like he's paying tribute, like he's honoring Vince. Like I think he's actually worse than Vince.
He's definitely much more Vince than Triple H is. And so yeah, it hasn't always been easy to watch. And then I'll look at the lineup and I'll just be like, oh, there's like one match. Oh, that'll be a good match. Another match. And then a couple, I'm like, that would probably be a good match, but I honestly don't care.
Yeah.
And I know like AEW's pay-per-views are always going to have good matches, but sometimes I'll look at the lineup, I'm like, I got to see that, and I order the pay-per-view. And other times I look at it, I'm like, I know this is going to have a bunch of good matches, but I honestly don't care.
Right.
For whatever reason, just the storyline. Yeah. And so, yeah, I could pay that money, and I know they're going to have good matches. I'm never.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
But I have to care. I have to be invested in it, and I'm just not with the NXT product. Even to watch a free for me PLE on Peacock.
No. I haven't watched them. I haven't watched them in over a year. I mean, I think the last one I watched, they did the one at the UFC arena, Battleground, I think it was last year. I watched that, and then maybe one after that, maybe like a Stand and Deliver would have been before that. Maybe
I don't remember that name.
Yeah, maybe I checked another one out, and again, like some of the stuff was fine, and again, it was cool. You see guys like Obafemi, he's on his way to the main at some point. I mean, I haven't watched it since Ricky Starks went there. I said I'm calling him Ricky Starks. Don't give me calling him Ricky Saints. Okay, to hell with that. Ricky Saints. Okay.
But more people are going to know him by Ricky Saints eventually than Ricky Stark. So,
the hell out of here. And then, you got Trick Williams. He's on it. And, they got some women down there. They got some talented women that are going to be up. Sol Ruka, they got down there, I can't think what's it, Zaria, although she's kind of been like defined down a little bit. But anyway, the point is, I mean, they got some people that you're going to see on the main roster at some point. But to sit there and invest 2 hours a week and watch the pay-per-view, forget about it. It's it's a lot. So but, and again, it's I'm finally like I'm not forgiving WWE, but like I watched SmackDown a couple of weeks ago. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's the same thing. It's what it is now, John. It's a formula. Okay. And it's a formula that works. Hey, listen, it works for them. People watch it. People are paying them boatloads of money for PLE contracts and all that. They got 50 million. They're on 50 million streaming services. Got to have Netflix, Peacock, ESPN, this, that.
And they're still selling tickets at ridiculously high prices. And
forget about it.
I'm not buying those tickets. No. I haven't been in it since 2018, I think. And they were just here in the Bay Area recently. A couple weeks ago. I didn't even
bother asking you if you were going to go, because I saw there was a show in San Jose. Mike John ain't going.
No.
They're coming to the Garden next month. What do you think I'm going to? And I'm off that night. What do you think I'm going to go? First of all, I got to get babysitting for the kids. Okay, I got to get baby. I mean, we're still in that. Although my daughter is going to be 14 in December, so. But to leave it's a whole night because we got to leave at 5:00 our time. We got to take the train, go watch the show. We're not home till midnight. I can't leave the three of them alone for 7 hours. So between that, and then tickets, if I got to sit in the nosebleeds, I think I looked. I think the tickets were like $250 a pop or something. I'm not paying. What are you, nuts? I'm not paying that.
Crazy. Yeah, I saw the ticket prices.
You know what I paid? I paid $600 to bring my wife and 2 daughters. We got a babysitter for my son because it was going to be too much for him. $600.
Yeah. Nah, that's like almost as much as I paid for WrestleMania 2 years ago. Yeah. And we were in like the second ring. So we weren't in the lower ring. That was too expensive for us. But the second ring at a stadium is actually not bad at all. Yeah. And kind of right across from we would be basically at the 50-yard line.
Yeah. You're talking about 31 when you went to Levi.
Yeah, right? Levi Stadium with the 49ers home. So, I mean, and I looked at the prices this year or next year's, and I'm like, the nosebleed, like the worst ones are, I don't even know, 3 or 4 times what I paid. And I know it's been like 10 years, but things don't go up that much. It's nuts.
No, it's them. They're driving everything up. I mean, real quick, and then we'll get to the show here. Madison Square Garden. Okay, so if I want to go Madison Square Garden, okay, if I want to take, I want to take my wife. All right, so section. Okay, so these are what are called the blue seats. Okay, and my buddy Justin is in the room. Now, he's an Islander fan, but he knows about the blue seats at Madison Square Garden. Okay, section 413, $200. This is the upper deck. This is where everybody gets drunk and gets into fights. I'm going to pay $200 for that? What are you, nuts?
That's crazy.
So, no.
Yeah. Other people will buy it, so God bless them. But
no, yeah. I mean, you go down in the 100 section, you're paying almost $400 a ticket. Mm-hmm. Okay? And Justin here, he knows because he knows we just took the kids to Disney. All right, TKO pricing is almost as bad as Disney pricing. Disney, you might be getting you know what I mean? Like you might be.
Well, and for us around here, like public isn't an option, so we're also paying probably $50 for parking.
Yeah,
on top of tickets, on top of gas, on top of bridge tolls and everything else.
Yeah,
food as they point out in the chat. It's just.
Yeah, Zon, with the food, forget about it. You want to, we're not going to go. We're not going to not eat. You want to get a beer. I know my wife's going to want a Sun Cruiser or something. So between that, you want to get a pretzel, a hot dog. You're talking almost $100, and you're talking almost $1,000
for a night out. It better be a damn good show. And some of the shows are good.
Out now, I'm sorry, it's not.
I'm definitely not going to SmackDown. I'll tell you that much because the Raws I think are better right now. But no.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go if I'm on an overnight, I'm not going to make the one. We'll get to the show here. I don't want to delay anybody. Okay, if I was able to work this Saturday, they're in Salt Lake for Saturday night's main event at the Delta Center. Now, our hotel is actually near the Delta Center, so I could probably walk. Okay. They got resale tickets. I mean, you're sitting up in the bleeds, but they got resale tickets for like $70. Okay. But that's just me going. That's just me going.
Right.
I'm not taking my wife. I'm not buying her a drink. Oh, why don't you get me a shirt? And this and it. So, So
Yeah.
All right. We got everybody anxious for us to review these shows. Let's get to it here. So this is In Your House. We're doing 3 and 4. We're going to motor through this. We're not going to do this move happened, then this move, then this move, then this move. Listen, if you're listening to this show, you probably watched the event, or at least you know what happened. We'll talk about the highlights, the most important things, the characterization, the stories. That's what we're here to do. Not there was a suplex and a headlock and this and that. You know, we'll be here all night if we do that. All right. In Your House 3. So this took place exactly 15 years before Aaron and I got married, September 24th, 1995. This was in the Saginaw Civic Center in Saginaw, Michigan. It is now the Dow Event Center. A lot of professional teams. There's the Ontario Hockey League outside of the NHL play over there. They're called the Saginaw Spirit. And there's been a lot of different tenants over the years. Your announcers for the event, this is when they started doing Vince. This is when Jim Ross was joining Vince, and Jerry the King Lawler. So Jerry working with his future lead here. And yes, Azan, this is Nash country. So we see that in the main event. We had 4 dark matches. Rikishi defeated Triple H. No, I'm sorry. Fatu defeated Hunter Hearst Helmsley. According to Wade, Fatu was actually supposed to wrestle Lex Luger, but Lex did not honor his handshake agreement with Vince. And of course, we all know he made the big debut over at Nitro. So Luger out of the company. Goldust defeated Bob Holly. Ahmed Johnson was on the roster. He defeated Skip. And The Undertaker, really sorry that we missed this match, defeated King Mabel. So, you know.
Bonus for those in person.
Bonus for those in person, yes. Because, and a weird face versus if that did happen. Oh, I see what he's saying. Okay, weird face versus face as dark match if that happened. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the intent was. I mean, I do wonder if Luger, maybe there was an intention to turn him. I mean, they turned Bulldog while Luger was still in the company, so who knows what was really going on there. Your opening match is Savio Vega against Danny Spivey, who at this point is Waylon Mercy. So not much of a story here between these two, John. Waylon Mercy character was very much like Max Cady from Cape Fear. Now, I'm going to sound like a weirdo. I've never seen Cape Fear. Did you? Okay, good.
No.
I don't feel so bad then. But I know that's what it was based on. And ironically, it's funny. I didn't know this for certain until I started doing research on this show. He actually gave Wyndham Rotunda the blessing to be Bray Wyatt. And when Bray he was in the company before, but when the Bray Wyatt character emerged, there was a lot of Waylon Mercy in him, and a lot of what they wanted from Waylon actually came out in Bray,
right?
You know. And I mean, I was intrigued. I was intrigued by the Waylon character. I was intrigued to see how it was going to work out. Then I started seeing him wrestle. I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work out.
Not so much.
Not so much.
And Bray could wrestle.
And it's kind of funny. And I'm sorry, not to cut you off. It's kind of funny with Spivey how much connection he has with the Rotunda family, because he actually teamed with Mike as the second incarnation of the U.S. Express. And that's the first U.S. Express that I watched as a kid. I didn't see Wyndham and Rotunda because I wasn't watching WWF at that point. Then I backtracked. I went to WrestleMania. Then I saw, then I started to put the pieces together. But my first impression of the U.S. Express was Spivey and Rotunda. So,
and that was a little before my time.
Yeah. Because it was about 86. So I think you're about 88. So I mean, we've been watching about the same time.
Before,
a little bit before that.
Yeah.
And Spivey actually voiced Mercy the Buzzard in the Firefly Funhouse.
I mean, I always assumed that was. I mean, it was not. I assumed. It was obviously an homage to Waylon Mercy.
Yeah.
I did not realize that he did the voice, though.
I didn't realize he did the voice either. Not until
Oh,
not until I was.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of what was to come in Waylon Mercy. Anyway, this goes about 7 minutes. Vega wins it with a spinning heel kick. Wade rates it at a half a star. Quote, a surprise upset in the opener. It's a sign that WWF management realized Mercy is too broken down and battered from his years in football and wrestling to either sell convincingly or display offense effectively enough to be a top-level heel. And, I mean, I think that says it all. I mean, you watch the match. He had worked a couple of squashes. I put down in my notes a real murderer's row. I mean, he worked Bob Holly, the 1-2-3 Kid, and Doink. I mean, if you can't beat those guys, or if you're not booked to beat those guys, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. My one note for this match was meh.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better. And it's one of those things. Okay, not to talk too long because I don't want to spend too much time on Waylon Mercy, but he was another one of those guys introduced via vignette. Okay, and I'm fully convinced. Except for a few guys, except for Razor Ramon, except for Mr. Perfect, and maybe Goldust. When they introduce people via vignette, it means they actually don't have a lot of faith in them because they want you to be so impressed with the vignette and they want you to be so sold that when the character actually comes to life, you're like, wow. I mean, they did Outback Jack via vignette. How did that work out? All right. Actually, that might have been a little bit before you started watching.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one. I don't know.
Yeah. That Outback Jack's about 86, I think 87. So that's a little bit before your time. But, I mean, you know it. I mean, how many characters have been introduced? What was the weirdo in the 2000s that he was like an Undertaker type of character? What was the hell? Oh, for God's sakes. He wore white.
Mordecai?
Mordecai. That's it. Mordecai.
Yeah.
Mordecai. Kazarni. Remember him? The weird carnival guy?
Yeah.
Like.
I will add to your initial list of positive ones from that same kind of time period, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett's worked with the country music stuff, but that's one I remember pretty strongly. The Mr. Perfect ones have to be the best of all time, right?
They're awesome.
I mean, they're perfect, right? So, I mean, I definitely remember the Razor ones also, and the Jarrett ones. So yeah, there's ones like that that stand out, and then for each one that worked, there's however many, there's another 8 or 10 that didn't work. So
exactly, yeah.
Because at some point, like you said, you got to get in the ring, or you got to get in front of that crowd, and if you've done a good job with those vignettes, like they probably did with Waylon Mercy, you've increased the anticipation. So now you've got to live up to it, and if it doesn't, it's not going to work.
You know what I mean? Perfect setup, John. That was well done. That was
as opposed to like Savio Vega, his opponent here, who just kind of came out to help Razor, and then you find out, oh, he's an old friend, and he'd been like there as his guest, and he wanted to there were other ways you can introduce. Right. There's no one size fits all approach. So. And, we talked a bit about the NXT. They could run some more vignettes for some of these new people to better introduce them to the Raw and SmackDown viewers who aren't watching NXT on the CW each week. They could maybe take some of these things from the 80s, 90s then and bring them to the now and say, hey.
As long as it's not handled like Veer Mahan.
Well.
Is he still coming, by the way? That ran from like what?
That was at least 6 months.
That ran from like October to WrestleMania. I'm like, at this point, Vince, I don't give a shit if he's coming. Like,
Oh Lord, man. Yeah, you gotta laugh.
You gotta laugh sometimes. All right. So that's Savio and Waylon Mercy. After the match, we go to the back. Doc Hendricks and Gorilla Monsoon and Jim Cornette are talking about the status of the main event. So we forgot to mention that during the match, Doc Hendricks cut in on an inset and said that Owen Hart wasn't in the building. So, the status of the main event is up in the air. In this interview, Cornette said, oh, yes, he's here. Then he changed the story that he's on his way. And Gorilla said that the triple header match would take place no matter what. We'll kind of we'll pack all this together and we'll talk about it when we get to the main event. It's just easier to talk about it in one shot. All right. If we talk more than 5 minutes about the next match, we're going to need help because it's Henry Godwinn against Psycho Sid. Okay. So the story here was Henry was hired by Ted DiBiase to go after Diesel before, I think that was In Your House 1, if I'm not mistaken, before a title match between Diesel and Sid. There was talk that Godwinn was going to join the $1 Million Corporation, but then he turned babyface and he slopped Sid on Superstars and he slopped Ted DiBiase on Raw. I was shocked to see that Sid agreed to get slopped. I really was. I'm like, what?
My first note on this match was this feels beneath Sid.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. And look, and Wade talks about it. Sid, I'm a little more favorable to Sid than Wade is. Okay. Mm-hmm. Does Sid have the best of offenses? No, he doesn't. But he wasn't. If he had the right guy, he could work. When he worked, Shawn Michaels, it was fine. I'd have to. I didn't really see a lot of his WCW work, to be honest, because I wasn't watching WC. But I'm sure if I went back and watched some of that work, I'm sure I could find some decent. And anybody in the chat, if you could tell me a good dance partner for Sid through the years, I wouldn't mind. But Mark Canterbury wouldn't it.
Well, no, and again, it's not necessarily just even wrestling ability, but the presence.
Yeah.
Sid had a presence and he had that aura about him, and he had been treated like a big star with world title matches, mixing it up with Shawn and Diesel. He had been presented like a real big deal. I was going to guess Sting, even though I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, Zahn brings it up. And Zach is echoing your point. Sid wasn't the best worker, but the dude had an undeniable charisma few could match.
Right. And so that's why I say,
by the way, these are YouTube, for those of you listening on audio only on the VIP side. I'm bringing up YouTube comments. I don't want you to feel left out. But no, Zach is he's in line with what we're thinking. And Zahn brings up Sting. What is he? Sting and him were good for each other. Yeah, I could see that.
I was gonna guess Sting. Like I said, I'm like you. I was at that time. I was a occasional WCW Saturday Night viewer just to kind of follow what was going on, but I wasn't, watching much. So, anyways, Godwinn again has nothing to do with what I'm saying. Skill level, just the way they're presented. Godwinn was so far beneath him, and I guess maybe you're trying to rise the hog farmer up, but why? That's a DOA gimmick that would be perfect. I mean, it's perfectly fine for a low card kind of time filler, but you're talking about Sid, who, like we said, was in the main events earlier this year at pay-per-views.
Yeah. And what I find odd was Sid was working Bam Bam on TV. And he's working Godwinn on a pay-per-view. How about we switch? I'd rather see Bam. I mean, I know Bam Bam is going to work. We'll talk about that in the next match. He's working Davey, but Henry Godwinn and Sid for a pay-per-view. I mean, that's just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After the first two matches, I'm just sitting here thinking, "Oh my God, I hope this show gets better."
Yeah.
And it does. It does. But
it does. I agree with you. I agree. Yeah, I think, to your point about elevating Godwinn, I mean, I don't know that it was about that. I think it's more about maybe trying to expand Sid's horizons a little bit. because I mean, I also think like Vince is probably not used to Sid sticking around this much. I mean, think about it. He comes in '91. He's gone after he's gone shortly after WrestleMania. So now it's like, wait a minute, he's still here. Like, what do I do now? Like, I'm used to this guy being gone. Like,
Yeah, maybe so.
So, but it really, anyway, Sid, in case anybody didn't figure it out, Sid beats Godwin 7.5 minutes after I put power bomb because it was a really crappy looking power bomb. I don't know if Godwin didn't get, the elevation or whatever. And there were multiple interference spots. Excuse me. But this is really more about the post-match because then Sid and DiBiase are arguing about who's going to slop Godwin. Then Bam Bam comes out. And then you see Kama coming out, and they're going to slop Bam Bam. And then from behind, here comes Godwin, and he slops DiBiase. So the idea was get Sid a win and slop DiBiase for the crowd.
Yeah, it's always, fun to humiliate the heel manager.
Yeah.
It's pretty standard. So
yeah, and Zach talking about Henry wasn't a small guy. I mean, he wasn't, but again, the quality, you're just not going to get the quality of work out of him. I don't know how he was. I forget.
I think he's referring to the power bomb specifically.
Yeah.
It's hard. I was actually impressed that
that is fair. Yeah. That is fair. That is fair.
Yeah.
It's hard to get the elevation with a guy like Godwin, Yeah. So yeah, that's like I gotta be fair on that. All right, we went a little more than 5 minutes. Okay, I don't think we need help though. We go again backstage. So Gorilla tells Cornette that all right, you got a choice. Yokozuna can either go it alone or you could find a tag team partner. Now I found this strange because in doing my research, Cornette and Bulldog were already aligned.
Right.
So what's the mystery? Like, and that's the thing. Like, I'm talking about it now. I might as well. Unless you're debuting somebody or somebody's returning, we go through this whole thing throughout the night where Cornette's trying to find a partner and ends up being Bulldog. You're already representing Bulldog.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, I like the idea of the little mystery story. It's just something to kind of bind the show together.
Sure.
You get these little scenes. We see him talking to Sid. We see him talking to King Mabel. You're right about the, what do you want to say? The predictability with maybe you say, well, he's already had a match, so you want to find someone who's fresh, but then Sid already had a match also. So that doesn't really work. It creates a little bit of a mystery, but the whole story was just, in the end, when we get there, was such a stupid story. But let's say Owen was hurt and they really had to run this angle. Well, I think it's a fine angle to put together, a little bit of mystery. You get these little teases of some people, and then it ends up being Bulldog in the end. I don't think it's bad. I just think it could have been better. It could have been executed better.
Right.
And they could have made it a story. You could tell a story where Bulldog gets upset.
Right.
Why is he courting these other guys when I'm right here? But they didn't go that route. And you're not going to turn him because he just turned.
I have I'll reveal it at the end. It's not a huge thing, but I have a suggestion that we'll talk about at the end. By the way, Zach, I didn't know this. Rest in peace, Mo. Mo passed away on October 19th.
I saw that. Yeah.
I didn't, you know what? I haven't been watching the TV. I hate to admit that publicly, but I haven't been watching the TV. Did they acknowledge it on Raw and SmackDown? Bastards. I mean, come on. The guy
unless I missed it, I didn't see it.
I mean, the guy worked for you for a year or two. I mean, Men on a Mission was a significant tag team, whether you liked them or not.
He was a tag team champion. It doesn't take much. You're not talking about throwing a party or one of those 10-bell salutes. You're just talking, you put up a graphic and say, we were saddened to hear, former WWE superstar, Mo from Men on a Mission, tag team champion,
Yeah.
passed away. And I think once upon a time there was this string of some of these guys who died so close together. It was news, it was bad publicity for WWE.
Oh yeah.
You know, I don't want to say we're beyond that, but we're kind of beyond that. It's not like, something that's happening with a regular basis where they would want to shy away from that kind of publicity or anything. It wasn't a guy who had a reputation or whatever. So, throw up a graphic,
Yeah, at least
acknowledge it.
at least say something. I mean, whatever. Yeah, it's on just on the website. So yeah, they didn't do it on TV. So yeah, you know. All right. Speaking of not alive anymore, the British Bulldog taking on Bam Bam Bigelow. Okay.
I should have laughed.
and I think they were in that string, right? Because Bulldog died in 02. Bigelow was what, about 04? I want to say.
I can't keep track, and that's
I can't
the sad
keep track.
thing.
It wasn't that long afterwards. It wasn't that he was in that string.
They were both in that string for sure.
They were in that string of people that Perfect, Bulldog, Bossman, Bigelow. What's his name? He was paired with Piper. I think Sean O'Hare passed away around that. So there was
Akeem might have been in that same stretch.
No, he's still around. Believe it or not,
he's still around.
He's still alive. Yeah.
The sad thing is, I'll see a wrestler from that time period, honestly, and I'll be like, if you told me he's dead, I would believe you.
Yeah, no.
And
Akeem, believe it or not, he's not in a good place though. He's not in a good place. I think he had his house got damaged or something. He was looking for money. It's sad. Well,
we should acknowledge at the same time the sad news that came out, was it yesterday or the day before, about Mike Rotundo being on hospice care now at age 67. So
actually, Mika, which I think is his niece or his daughter, was on Instagram and refuted that. He had a heart attack, but he's not in hospice. He's actually home.
Okay.
So,
but
I don't know what the particulars, who's full of shit, who's not. But he's not in hospice. He's actually, but he's not. It's his.
Well, but you could have home hospice care, so she might be splitting hairs.
Right. I think that's
either way, let's hope for the best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, that family between Bray a couple of years ago. I mean, come on. You never know. The father, you bury the son. It's people die of a broken heart. It happens. Yeah. So. All right, Bulldog and Bam Bam. So not much of a story between these two in particular, but Bulldog had recently turned heel, attacking Diesel. We talked about that at SummerSlam. Bigelow had been an ally of Diesel for a while, and he was his tag team partner at King of the Ring. So I don't know if they were trying to tie that together. 12 minutes. Bulldog wins it via power slam. 1.5 stars. I thought this match was okay. It wasn't great. Bulldog. I mean, I love the British Bulldog, one of my favorites, and I love Bam Bam. So two guys that I love, but not really. I mean, between the two of them, I think Bulldog is going to lead the match more so than Bam Bam, but not necessarily the best. I mean, for God's sakes, Brett had to carry Bulldog at SummerSlam '92.
Yeah, he wasn't necessarily the ring general.
No. But he also, he had a presence, he had a personality, he had a likability to him, which leads to what I wanted to talk about was, I'm sorry, he was not working heel in this match. He just, I didn't see it. Did you?
No, I think, I thought it was a pretty good match, but it could have easily been face versus face, the way it was kind of presented. And, you're going to get to the main event where he's maybe doing more heel work in that one.
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, I would have given it maybe more than 1.5 stars, but yeah, no, that's fine. But
no, it's fair. And to your point earlier about caring, I mean, look, every match is going to have a huge build. You know, you're going to have. This is a time period where, you know, we're still in that era where, you know, maybe 2 or 3 matches are getting the big build and everything else is filler. You know, and essentially this match was filler, so it was hard to really, like I said, there was no story between Bam Bam and Bulldog. And I think a lot of that too had to do with Bigelow was just basically treated as a gatekeeper at this point. Like there was just nothing. I mean, he was involved in the Henry Godwin DiBiase feud.
Right. And we've talked on this show in the past about how wasted Bigelow was. We don't need to rehash here.
No.
Go back and watch our former episodes. You can hear us.
Oh yeah, no. They never wanted to tell his story. He just never, you know, they never used him in the way that they could have. He was just a babyface gatekeeper at this point.
One thing I want to point out, it's going to come more into play in Your House 4, but they talked a lot about how Bulldog would be facing Undertaker on Monday Night Raw the next night. And when we get to 4, I want to talk about how much they talked about Raw, and I think this is the Nitro effect. So it's a little tease for later in the show.
Good.
They talked a lot about that here and how big of a weekend, you know, Bulldog could have. The other thing I wanted to mention, I just found it hilarious. I think it was Bulldog does an enziguri on Bam Bam, but Bam Bam could have done one. And Vince McMahon does his trademark tremendous move, and JR deadpans. That was a nice move. And then a second later, he says something about, well, we saw the enziguri from Bulldog. So he used the term, but he didn't use it right away. But it was that initial, like, yes, that was a nice move. The way he delivered that, you could just hear the condescension and the disgust in Jim Ross's voice that Vince McMahon just refused to learn names of the moves, or maybe he knew them but just didn't care, so he's not going to bother to say them. But I love that moment. that I got a kick out of that big time.
You're referring to what a maneuver.
Yeah, what a maneuver and tremendous maneuver.
If you played a drinking game that you had to take a shot every time he said what a maneuver, everybody would be in the hospital for alcohol poisoning.
Oh, within 2 matches.
Within 2 matches. Everybody, the crash carts would be at your house. It's, you know, I'm fully convinced that Vince McMahon loved making money. He loved making money off the wrestling business, but he did not like wrestling. Sorry, I cannot be convinced otherwise.
No, I agree. I think
Danielson, and the person that said it perfectly, Bryan Danielson, when he said that WWE is a parody of wrestling, and I believe that Vince spent his life making fun of wrestling when he was running the WWE.
Yeah. And there were times when he wasn't, but that's just because he was making so much money, he couldn't, you know, maybe he's going against his better instincts and, you know, doing some other stuff. But yeah, I mean, not
to start a whole thing, but all the talent that came through there, all the great wrestlers that came through that building, okay, that he turned into Farouk and Goldust and this, you know, and listen, some characters work for some for others, but I'm making a general point, okay? All the people that he cartooned and buried and all the great talent he was handed from NXT, it was just, you know, and he did it because he could, and that's a shame. He did it because he could. You know, he stepped in shit with this business. He made a lot of money. You know, there was a lot of good timing with the WWF, WWE through the years with TV deals and stuff like that. And, you know, he was just able to, you know, make people look the way he wanted them to look, even if it wasn't the best. You know, putting Ron Simmons in some stupid, you know, Farouk, whatever the hell that costume was.
The gladiator thing.
Thing. What the hell was that? I mean, you know, Dustin. I mean, listen, Goldust, you know, put Dustin on the map, but do you think Dustin Rhodes wanted to look like that? I mean, you know, come on. You know,
I don't know. It worked for him.
It did work, but you know, it's a larger point. It's, you know,
for sure.
Azan Bulldog didn't have his heel personality down yet. I'm not sure he ever got it. I think he made it work, but it's just it was.
I think
hard.
it worked better once he was really working with Owen, and then with the new Hart Foundation.
That I agree
A couple years later, because they worked well. The five of them was a strong group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I agree with. All right. All right. Gotta talk about this. Bob Backlund comes out. He's attempting to run for president, and he rails the crowd, and he uses a bunch of fancy words. That was my note.
I didn't even write that down. I forgot that it happened.
I just, listen. We're doing a podcast here, so I got to acknowledge it happened. But it was such a freaking waste. Like, I'm just sitting there, like, wow, way to run for president. Run down the people that you want to vote for you. Like, my God. All right. Then he introduced. This was weird. He introduces Dean Douglas, which was fine. Dean Douglas calls the crowd a bunch of failures, and then he introduces Razor Ramon. I'm like, huh? Like, what's going on?
It was weird. I didn't.
Very strange. Hey. All right, so Razor Ramon takes on Dean Douglas is on here. Jericho of his day. With Bob. Okay, I hadn't thought about that one. That's interesting. I'd love to see Jericho and Bob back with fate. Actually, you know what? Book that. John's like, no.
I don't want to see Jericho do anything. At this point, I'm like, do you want to see Jericho go back to AEW? Do you want to see him go back to W? I'm like, can I see him go away and never see him again? That's my vote. I'm sorry. I'm not even sorry. Go away. You're old. You can't wrestle anymore. Get out of my sight. I don't want to see you.
Yeah, I mean
that's my harsh reality.
I'll tell you this. Not to get on a Jericho tangent. If he does come back to WWE and it's for an appearance here and there, fine. I mean, he should end his career where he made his most money.
I get that. And put him in the Hall of Fame, of course.
Put him in the Hall of Fame. Once he's in the Hall of Fame, goodbye, get lost. Yeah. So, all right. So the story here, there's a lot to this match. So Douglas gave Razor a failing grade in his match against Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam 95. We actually talked about that.
No.
Razor confronted him backstage. He said, "You're all fluff and no stuff." They got physical. But Douglas was also triggering issues between Razor and 1-2-3 Kid. So a lot going on here. Razor got DQ'd in a match. It was actually against he got Kid DQ'd in a match against Douglas. That triggered a match between Razor and Kid, where Douglas inadvertently helped Kid beat Razor. So Razor thought that Kid and Douglas were in cahoots. There was also a match with Razor and Bulldog where Douglas got involved and then Kid got involved. So there was all kinds of stuff going on between these guys. And then there was an episode. Well, actually, I'll talk about that when we get to the next In Your House. Little under 15 minutes. Douglas wins it via pinfall. So there was a ref bump. Razor hits the Razor's Edge, but instead of the ref counting because he's down, 1-2-3 Kid comes out and counts to 3. That's a tongue twister. Razor was annoyed because it wasn't the ref. He shoves Kid from the ring, and then Douglas does this absolutely pitiful roll up and scores the pin. Wade has this at 2 3/4. Both guys worked hard. A solid match with strong psychology. The kid angle afterwards was well done. I don't know about you. I'm a little more down on this match than Wade was. I didn't hate it, but I didn't see the chemistry between the two. Now, I'm sure people in the chat might chime in. We all know that there's a history with the Clique and Dean Douglas, or Shane Douglas, whatever you want to call him. And there's rumors that Razor sandbagged him. Now, I don't know if it's this match. All right. And look, you and I, we're not insiders, so we're not digging into this whole thing. We're not going to get to the bottom of it, but
right.
The pieces are there. And if you watch this match and you even know that, and you heard it as a rumor or whatever, you could kind of see it. I don't know if you saw it that way. How did you see this match?
I think I'm more with Wade on this one. I thought it was good. It's the, the
I didn't think
Todd
it was bad.
Martin,
I didn't think it was bad.
I think it's the Todd Martin special, good match, crap finish. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's pretty much. I will say the little shove. He does this little shove on Kid, and Kid goes flying out of the ring because
Yeah, it was an oversell. I agree.
Waltman was great at that kind of bumping and selling. But yeah, no, I thought it was a good match. And not a lot of talking points other than just this kind of dippy ending. And we'll get to an even worse ending at the rematch in Your House 4, another teaser for later in the show.
Oh,
and I will say, I'm much more aligned with your thoughts on the rematch than this one. I thought this one was pretty good.
That might have been the sandbag. That might have been the sandbag. I mean, it didn't, but also, and I think maybe there wasn't any sandbagging in this match, but Shane coming from ECW where he could be a little more, things are a little more liberal over there. He could work more of their style. Now he's got to work the more routine-oriented WWF style. So it's a little bit of an adjustment, and, I was actually texting with Todd about this, and he talked about the politics. The politics were out of control during this time period. I mean, Vince is the boss, but I'm sorry. Somebody always had his ear. He was always influenced by somebody. Okay. Yeah. So don't tell me how great of a boss Vince McMahon was. Whether Hogan was in his ear, whether the Clique was in his ear, and then let's be honest, John Cena was in his ear a lot.
Well, and throw another name in between, Vince Russo, for,
Bro, I'm telling you, bro, I think you're on to something, bro. All right? Bro, I think you're on to something.
I mean,
I'm telling you, Vince listened to him too much. Let me tell you something. Let me be very honest with you.
So, yeah, I mean,
imitations here on the pwtorch YouTube page.
I mean, I remember in Sean's autobiography talking about this time period, and he defended it basically saying, look, we didn't like certain people, and he named some of them, but he said they could work. So we weren't giving them, we weren't telling Vince to get rid of them, because even though we didn't like them, they could work. And leading into the next match, if my memory in his book is, one of the examples was Jean-Pierre Lafitte.
Yes.
That they did not get along, but they weren't going to tell Vince to get rid of him, because even though they didn't like him, he could work. Mm-hmm. So, but Shane Douglas could work too. So it's all,
the match was fine. The match was, it just, like I said, I think Shane might have been trying to adjust to the WWF style, and look, not everybody the first time out, could work well together. We've seen, matches where, even like Brett and Sean's match at Survivor Series 9, I thought it was a really good match, but their better matches would come later on. Once you work together,
sure,
after a certain period, so, and again, coming from ECW, there is a big difference,
right.
And listen, the one thing I liked about the Dean, again, it's another character. All right. It's another occupational character. Okay. That, in the long, but you know what? I actually like this because it's actually, who was talking about this? Rich Fan was talking about this on Everything. Okay. Mm-hmm. If anybody listened to that show, and somehow they got on to talking about 80s, 90s heels. And he talked about Rick Martel. Mm. And what he said about Rick Martel was not trying to be cool. Rick Martel was trying to get booed, and he was trying to get heat. That's what a heel should do. Not do Hurricane Ranas or Tope Suicidas or these great moves to get this is awesome and likes on social media. That's what I feel everybody... Yeah.
Not get people to sing along with your song.
Right. You remember with Jericho,
Jericho Rollins, none of this. And I mean,
nobody's trying to get disliked anymore. Everybody's just trying to get liked. Dean Douglas was trying to get booed.
Right.
And even if it was cartoonish, you know what? The dean of the school or a teacher can be somebody that you disliked. I'm sure you disliked a few teachers in your day.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, maybe, it kind of, I tend to think of it starting with the NWO, but
Yeah.
that's one of their, legacies, for better or maybe worse, is that cool heels. Because when Scott Hall says, "Anyone here to see WCW?" Boo. Are you here to see the NWO? But that was, counterproductive, perhaps. Now, they sold a lot of t-shirts, they made a hell of a lot of money, but in the long
Wade
run.
Keller has talked about it, and not for nothing, John, the more I go back and I watch that era, the less I like it. Because I think wrestling in general got into a lot of bad habits, and that's one of them. And heels, and even now, it's hard for heels to get booed. Justin in the chat, MJF is the last true heel. Yeah, he's not out there now. You could talk about his methodology, and that's been a little bit off, but that's a different conversation. But still, in general, he wants to be booed.
Yes.
Okay.
Except for that real bad run with Adam Cole, but let's not talk about that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I think that, that's a good point. And we can probably think of some others, but yeah, in general, it feels like a lost art. And it feels like something they don't even care about. And that's the sad thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got someone like Samoa Joe a week and a half ago who's railing on the crowd, railing on the local sports team, and saying that Powerhouse Hobbs wants to screw heavy chicks. Like, this is what we're doing?
Yeah, that was bad.
Joe, for Christ's sake.
Samoa Joe is better than that.
You know better. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Let me get to some of these chats here. Azan, that didn't make sense in kayfabe. I believe he's talking about Razor.
I think he's talking about, 1, 2, 3 Kid doing the pinfall. Maybe.
Yeah,
I think that's what he was talking about.
Why? And he also says why Kid did that baby face thing. He's trying to help his friend. So
yeah, it was weird. It was weird.
It is very. It's hard to right. Exactly. It's hard. It's one of those. After a while, you're just like, all right. They were just trying to get Razor to shove Kid, and they were just trying to build the tension. You know what I mean? So
build that tension. Yeah.
Exactly. Azan, even Dom is getting cheered. Yep. Yeah, Dirty Dom is the biggest face as a heel. It's
it's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Justin, bang heavy chicks. It worked for Mike also. Oh man, speaking of rest in peace. All right.
Oh yeah.
So okay, we mentioned that Douglas won this. Okay. We go back. Hendricks interviews Diesel and Sean. I'm sorry. Either Sean took some kind of painkiller before the match, and Diesel just this interview stunk. I'm sorry. I think they even had the two dudes with attitudes or something like that. Not for nothing. Okay. Two dudes with attitudes and Big Daddy Cool. I don't think if you're in school, you want to talk about the fact that you watch wrestling, because if you do that and you say that, yeah, my favorite wrestler is Big Daddy Cool Diesel, and he's with his friend in a tag team, two dudes with attitudes, you probably get beat up.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not a great run, and got better once he turned back heel, and he just kind of
really, you're starting to see he's coming to the end of the line.
Yeah.
And I really believe that Kevin Nash, I think he was getting tired. I really believe that. I think he was getting mentally tired of portraying Diesel.
Yeah.
Why isn't he in the Hall of Fame as Diesel?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, anyway. All right, next match. You mentioned Jean-Pierre Lafitte, so it's Bret the Hitman Hart against Jean-Pierre. So Bret's continuing his 95 trend of personal feuds. The story here was Jean-Pierre, the pirate, was stealing sunglasses from kids, which annoyed Bret because he always gave his glasses to a kid at ringside. And in a match against Will and Mercy, Jean-Pierre stole Brett's jacket. So there's a little bit of history prior to this match. Of course, Jean-Pierre Lafitte was Pierre of the Quebecers. Brett and Owen would face the Quebecers back at the Royal Rumble in '94. That led to the famous turn when Owen kicked Brett's leg out of his leg. And he's still around. He is the current PCO. I believe he's still around, actually. Anyway, 16 and a half minutes on this match. Brett wins it via submission. It's actually a really cool finish. So they kind of body block each other and go down, and their legs get tangled, and Brett just turns it into a sharpshooter. It's really creative. It's innovative. Wade rates this at 4 stars. A well-paced match with an excellent, innovative finish that had the fans on their feet. I thought this was the highlight of the show. I thought this was the best match. And Brett actually talked about this. I'm not sure if this is from his book, but quote, in a lot of ways, I loved working with guys like him. He was a guy that when he threw you in the ropes, he really threw you in the ropes. Everything he did was power, and at the same time, he was a very safe guy. He took a lot of pride in his work and really wanted to have a great match with me, and so we worked really hard, and it was a really good match. And coming from Brett, if he says it, then because how particular he gets.
Brett doesn't have that BS bone in his body.
No,
he's gonna tell it. He's gonna shoot it straight. So really good match. I had a few notes. Just I'll mention at one point Lafitte went for the cannonball.
Yes,
and Brett moved. The timing. I want to show this match to everyone in NXT. Because there is a epidemic in NXT, and I've seen it on the main roster, and I've seen it some in AEW too, of people moving too early on moves. It's gotten really bad. Now, it's not as much with this kind off the top rope, but watch these moves where they're in the corner and the person's charging. These wrestlers are moving out of the way, and their opponent has to take 5 more steps and still crash into the turnbuckle. And I'm like, you gotta wait, because they could easily stop themselves. Watch this match and the timing.
Yeah.
Everything is crisp. It's perfect. It's well put together. Look at the parallel moves. Brett, he misses one. Brett misses a move off the turnbuckle. Pierre throws him into the turnbuckle chest first. Brett throws him into the turnbuckle chest first.
Yep.
They do the shoulder first into the stairs on the outside, then later Brett gets him. I mean, it's like they're doing these step for step, move for moves. I thought it was really, really well done. The only issue I had is early on, Lafitte goes to the top rope and he hits a leg drop or an elbow or something. And it was why don't you do your finishing move? It's one of my little nitpicky things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some good examples. If John Cena gets somebody up on his shoulders for an AA and does a Samoan drop, it wouldn't make any sense. And I know there's other examples. I can't think of any. Sheamus does a pump knee now. And I'm like, if you're going to do a pump knee, why don't you just do the full pump kick, brogue kick? So there's a little bit there, but that was my only complaint about this match. You have Brett down on the mat. You could do your finisher. Instead, you go for a different move. And then when you go for your finisher later, you don't hit it. Nitpick, I admit, because 4 stars, I agree. Really good match. Something, me, I got to find something to complain about.
Yeah, I mean, my counter to that, and this is just what I'm thinking of now, it's not my stance, but, when you hit your finisher, you want to make sure your opponent is fully down. Because you got to remember, a finisher, somebody's finisher could be somebody's routine move. You know? For example, the Rainmaker is a freaking clothesline.
Right.
The clothesline from hell, JBL, is a clothesline.
Yeah.
So, you want to enact enough offense where your opponent is woozy and down enough that when you hit that finisher, I mean, there's an entertainment factor to it too. Let's be honest.
Sure.
You hit that, you want to make sure the guy is going to kick out. So I could see in story, not going for a finisher so early in fear that, well, he's not knocked out enough and he's going to kick out. And I don't want somebody kicking out of my finisher.
Yeah, maybe.
That would be my counter to that. But yeah, it's just, and you mentioned the, so there actually is a story. I don't know if it's true or not, but Pierre Lafitte was actually going to beat Diesel at a house show in Montreal via countout. And supposedly Shawn Michaels got involved and they wanted to change it. They wanted to change to Diesel beating Lafitte. Basically, they wanted to have a match and then have a rematch in Montreal, a month later in Montreal. And Lafitte was pissed. He was like, no. So they did a double count out, and I don't think they did a match again. And basically, he got buried after that. I mean, he's gone in November.
John. Yeah, he doesn't last. No,
he doesn't last. And you know what? Honestly, it's a shame. I mean, you turn Bulldog heel, you turn 1, 2, 3 Kid heel. There was your heel right there. He was right in front of you the whole time.
Yeah.
And now I would be curious to go back because I mean I don't have a negative memory of Jean-Pierre Lafitte. I just think the character, again, another character, a pirate. We got a pirate, a teacher, a hog farmer. So that was the thing about this year. But just watching this match, you're like, there was your heel right there. He's right in front of you.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, politics.
Yeah.
Dave Meltzer in The Observer called this match a show saver.
Yeah.
And it really was. I mean, honestly, I'll reveal it now. It's a thumbs up show. Mild thumbs up.
Yeah. Mild thumbs up.
Because of this. Because I'd rewatch this match. I really would.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Jim Cornette reveals that after he courted Sid, like you said, and he courted Mabel, all right, 2 real barn burners and tag team partners for Yokozuna, all right, because we can't just have one guy that can't work. We got to have 2. It's the British Bulldog, and the answer was under his nose the whole time. No crap, because you freaking represent him, you doof. Frank on fire, by the way. I'm back, okay? I'm back. This is how I'm podding from now on. So get ready to handle it. Hopefully Wade doesn't get mad at me. So this was a triple header match. So going into the pay-per-view, the tag titles were on the line. Owen and Yokozuna. Diesel's WWF title was on the line, and the Intercontinental title was on the line. So, if Diesel got pinned, whoever would win the world title. If Shawn got pinned, they'd win the Intercontinental title. And apparently they actually waived the you can't hold 2 titles rule, because that was always a rule. Although I call BS on that, because at SummerSlam 94, Diesel and Shawn beat the Head Shrinkers for the tag titles, and Diesel walked into that show not only as a tag champ, but the Intercontinental champion. Because remember, he lost to Razor that night. Now maybe,
right.
So, whatever. Nitpick on my part. Okay. So the story here was, the reality was, Martha, gave birth to Athena the night before. Athena was born. So that's why Owen wasn't there. All right. He ends up being there. We'll talk about that later. So here's how I thought they could have handled it. All right. And then I have a larger point to make about this whole thing. Owen's not going to be there. Okay. The reason. Now, you don't even have to explain the reason. You're doing this whole dance throughout the night, teasing Sid, teasing Mabel. Okay. And as I said, unless somebody's debuting or unless somebody's returning, weaving this throughout the show to have it end up being somebody that's already on the roster, to me, is a waste of time. Okay? Owen isn't going to be there. You get Gorilla Monsoon on camera at the beginning of the show or in the ring like they do in New Japan. Okay? Due to family obligations, Owen Hart will not be here tonight. However, the triple header match will take place. I am sanctioning a comparable partner for Yokozuna, and somebody that is already managed by Jim Cornette, and that will be the British Bulldog. He will represent Owen Hart tonight. He will represent one half of the tag team championships for one night only. Okay, and he will be afforded the same opportunity, which Cornette confirmed with Gorilla. You could have handled that from the get-go. Okay, to me, that respects, because I don't think people in the arena saw the inset promo. I don't think they knew what was going on. I don't think they had any idea.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, you're probably right on that.
So you're pissing on the people that are in the arena and bought tickets.
Yeah,
they're getting the match, card subject to change. I get all that, but show a little respect to the match that you advertised.
Right.
Okay? And then, boy, do they pull a doozy here. So it's actually a really good match. I'll be honest. I enjoyed the match. I thought it was
a good match. Good match.
For what you had. I mean, I don't think Shawn and Yoko had worked before. I don't recall. I could be wrong. I think Diesel and Owen had worked, or Diesel and Bulldog. I mean, they had tagged and Bulldog turned on. But anyway, the point being, I thought it was fine. 15 and a half minutes. Diesel and Shawn win to win the tag team titles. The only problem is, guess who shows up? Owen Hart. Guess who sees Owen Hart come off the top rope? The referee. Okay? Now, it's already known that Bulldog is the partner. The referee clearly sees Owen Hart. Diesel gut punches him, gives him the power bomb, and the referee counts. Can you explain to me why the referee made that 3 count?
No, I cannot. And it was, again, good match, crap finish. It didn't make any sense. And it's, you and I chatted earlier in the week. I think we chatted about it and I said it's a variation on the dusty finish. Make the fans think they saw a tag title change hands, send the fans home happy, and then reverse it the next night.
Yep. Bill
but
Watts
it doesn't make
there's a Bill Watts influence,
It didn't make any sense because he wasn't in the match.
And the referee clearly saw him.
Well, it's not like he's going to think that it's the Bulldog or something. It's not like he's dressed up like the Bulldog
right.
I mean, he knows he's not in the match.
He's not in the match. It was, and listen, I don't see to me, I might be a little bit of a hard ass, but look, people don't show up to arenas. There's a history of it. We understand that. To me, a tag team is a tag team. If you're the champs, then those people are the champs. If your partner isn't there, you have a choice. You defend the title alone or you relinquish it.
You forfeit, yeah.
You forfeit it. Now, with that being said, I actually didn't mind the way Gorilla handled it.
Sure. No, it makes sense. It was fine up until Owen coming out.
Right. And
if Owen is there,
right.
why isn't he just in the match? It's because they wanted to book an out. They needed an out because they didn't want to change champions on either side.
Correct.
And so that's just it's booking backwards, right? It's booking yourself into a corner and then having to come up with a cheap way of getting out of it. Unfortunately, we see parallels to it on the now end of this spectrum.
Right.
All the time.
Because this, and my suspicion, all right, going into, because I never saw this pay-per-view. I knew what happened, but I never saw it. Okay.
I didn't either at the time.
This is my first time watching this. Okay. Yeah. Azan, maybe the ref thought Owen was clear to replace Bulldog like in a football game. Azan, I love you, but this isn't football. And, it's okay to hold the WWF to a standard here. Okay?
Yeah.
It's okay to hold them to a standard. I know what they, and that might have been, instinctively, maybe the referee sees Owen and is like, oh, well, Owen's the champ, so I can count him. He's one half of the tag team champions, but he wasn't in the match.
Right, because then you're basically, the referees is sanctioning turning it into a 3-on-2 handicap match.
Turning into a 3-on-2 handicap match, Freebird, whatever you want to call it. Wasn't that. Gorilla Monsoon clearly said, I am sanctioning the Bulldog as one half of the tag team champions, and he will be in the match. I like that. That's fine. Okay. I am with you. They didn't want to change any title with the parties involved.
Right.
But we can't. So we don't want to beat Diesel and Shawn. We can beat, Owen and Bulldog, but we'll get Owen and, we'll get Owen involved. Okay. So that way, the next night we could just return the titles to Owen and Yokozuna. Okay. And, and that, and what Wade actually railed this. Okay. It's edition 355. VIP members, you have the right to go back and look at these old newsletters. What he said, I felt like I was listening to modern day Wade. Okay. And I was starting to say something before. My suspicions were correct. This is the beginning of giving fans matches with high stakes and no finishes.
Yeah.
Because I don't recall, and I could be wrong, I don't recall an instance like this before this. I mean, yeah, there were screw finishes, DQs, countouts, this and that, but you're giving people a very intriguing match where all titles are on the line.
Right. It's an interesting concept. It's a great concept. Yeah.
And you know what you did? You gave the people nothing.
Right. Yeah. You gave them that little rush in the moment, and then you crapped on it the next night.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. If you book a match and no outcome is favorable, do something else.
Right. Don't book it if you can't give the finish. Yeah.
Especially a main event, especially a world title match. Look, I know it's in your house. It's not a main show. But you know what? Then don't book anything for anything. Just do crap finishes. Keep shit out. You know what I mean? Like,
you're trying to still sell. This is early on in this concept. So you're still trying to sell the concept of in your house. Pay $15, get a 2-hour show instead of paying $30 to get a 3-hour show. You want people.
And listen, $15 in 1995 is a lot of money.
Sure. And you want somebody to buy In Your House 4 in October.
Right. And if you now, Azan here says, but the Guns beat the champs the next night. I understand that. But they didn't want Diesel and Shawn Michaels to be the tag team champions. They wanted to take the titles off of Owen and Yoko, but they didn't want them going to Diesel and Shawn. And that's our issue with this match. You book a match where Diesel and Shawn could have been tag champs, or Owen and a Bulldog, and I guess initially Yoko and Owen, and then Bulldog. One of them could have been IC champ, one of them could have been world champ. And the problem is the WWF didn't want any of that to happen.
Right.
But they didn't want to do a screw finish. They didn't want to do a DQ or a count out. Okay. Well, I guess that didn't bother you at In Your House 1 because
right. They've done those kind of finishes.
That's my point.
Of time. Yeah.
Right. That's my point. You did it in Your House 1. We're going to talk about In Your House 4 that ends in a DQ. Okay. And we've seen.
I will say there's a few that I can think of, sort of similar. So I'll run them by you and see what you think. Hogan beating Undertaker after Undertaker beat Hogan.
Yeah.
And then they strip him of the title and put it up at the Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. That's similar. Even Andre beating Hogan and then selling the title.
Yeah.
But that's a little different because that's heel. This was Hogan beating Undertaker sends those fans home happy. And then you find out the next night it's, reverse decision, title being upheld. Right. So there have been a few in the past, but this is definitely a pretty high egregious example.
Right. And this is on the WWF side. I mean, there's plenty of dusty finishes. I mean, I'm sure Wade could talk about the Road Warriors.
Oh, sure.
I think there was a 1987, because I did a WCW pay-per-view, and there was a dusty finish I think between the Nasty Boys and Harlem Heat. And in his report, he referred to the Road Warriors. I forgot who they wrestled, but everybody thought Chicago crowd. Everybody thought the Road Warriors won, and then it turns out that they didn't. So
yeah. It happens, but that doesn't. It's like just because this is how it's always been doesn't mean that's it should remain that way.
yeah.
I will say also about this match, just I thought the announcers did a pretty good job of telling the story in the match of, um, Bulldog at one point was in control and he tags out, and Lawler questioned that. He said he should have stayed in the match because he should want to pin Michaels to become Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
And I thought that was and then at one point, he's being a heel, but he questioned Sean. He said Sean shouldn't tag into the match because if he tags in and loses, he's going to lose his title. So I thought they told some of that story. Like we said, we liked the concept of the match. I also wrote down Diesel was just moving better. He had been dealing with some injuries in some of these other matches we've reviewed earlier this year. He definitely was healthier and moving much better here. So that was part of the reason it was a good match up until the ending. Was he was able to show a little bit, why he was a pretty good wrestler for a big guy, back in his prime physically. So, but yeah, ultimately the story, unfortunately, ends up being this, what we in the moment would have seemed like a very weird ending. And then you find out the next night, it's just a total shit ending.
Correct. All right. So, the Pat McNeil thumbs up or thumbs down, or the Doc Bruce thumbs in the middle. I give it a mild thumbs up.
Yeah, a mild thumbs up. Couple of matches, couple of decent to pretty good matches. One, I think, very good match. One good main event with a dippy ending.
Correct.
Adds up to slight thumbs up.
Correct. It's again. Is it rewatchable? Is there something on the show you'd watch again? That's where I give it a thumbs up. All right, let's move to In Your House 4. This takes place. They call it the Great White North, October 22nd, 1995. So just about a month later, it's in the Winnipeg Arena. In Winnipeg, Manitoba. It was primarily the home of the original NHL's Winnipeg Jets, who are now the Arizona Coyotes. And of course, there's a new version of the Winnipeg Jets now. The arena itself was demolished in 2004, so not there anymore. Same announced crew: Vince, Jerry Lawler, and Jim Ross. Your dark matches: Bob Holly beats Rad Radford. Henry Godwin beats Psycho Sid. I was like, thank God that was a dark match.
Yeah. We'd have a lot more to say.
Yeah. Owen Hart and Yokozuna defeat Savio Vega and Bam Bam Bigelow. And Bret Hart defeats Isaac Yankem, DDS, not DMD. Gotta throw that in there. All right. Opening match: Rikishi against Triple. No, I did it again. Fatu taking on Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Make a difference, John. Let's make a difference. What was funny in one of Wade's newsletters, he's like, "Yeah, it's nice of Fatu to reveal that he was from San Francisco when he told us the whole time he was from Samoa."
Yeah. Well, we'll get in about a year or two. I guess just about a year. We'll get to the point where Yokozuna revealed he could speak English the entire time. He just was never allowed to.
Not for nothing. Fatu should have been Yokozuna's partner. I mean, put the family together,
There you go. It is kind of funny just to think about, this is not a good time, right? We can find matches here and there. We can find some storylines, but we don't usually crap on the talent, right? And it's just... No. And you can see some of the early seeds. Here we have Rikishi versus Triple H. They're both big parts of the Attitude Era.
Correct.
And we see it with some of these other characters. Now, they didn't necessarily do it here because of, going to WCW. Goldust, big part of the Attitude Era, Shawn, big part of this kind of start of the Attitude Era before he gets hurt, but helped kind of launch in that direction with the original DX. There's a lot of pieces in place. Even we mentioned Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler working together.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that JR and the King were not a big part of the Attitude Era, because
No,
they
100,
were
100%. Yeah. I mean, very key people. I mean, Diesel, a key part on the other side over in WCW, I mean, just kind of going back. Excuse me. I mean, Shane Douglas goes back and does his thing in ECW. Razor Ramon goes over as Scott Hall with Kevin Nash. I mean, Bam Bam Bigelow even bounces around between ECW and WCW. So, Sid comes in a little bit later on. So look, all the, there's a lot of, and it's funny, Tyler and I, when I had Tyler on a number of years ago, when we did Survivor Series 95, one of the things we talked about were a lot of people were in the building, were on property, and it was just a matter of, learning how to utilize them. And I don't think WWE or WWF learned their lesson or anything like that. I think Vince was just forced to, based on what WCW was using, to let these guys, let the guard down, stop with the cartoon characters, and let these guys kind of be themselves,
Yeah, for sure.
And Triple H would be one of them. He would be a key part of that.
For sure. And there were a lot, just to bring up what I mentioned earlier, there were a lot of plugs for Raw on this In Your House 4. And I have to believe that this was the Nitro effect. That they were like, we got to get those eyeballs. So we're going to announce matches. We're going to say, hey, tune in tomorrow night to find out what happened. All of these kind of things. I didn't write down all the, specifics, but I noted multiple times throughout the show, a lot of plugs for Raw.
Well, you were seeing countering the second Nitro, Shawn Michaels against Sid for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
And I forget the other match, but, something like that. Like Shawn Michaels and Sid would have probably been at In Your House 3. And then Diesel would have been doing something else. Right. Actually, Diesel might have been working Bulldog because he had turned, so that might have been, might have gotten Shawn and Sid, Diesel and Bulldog, and, who the tag champs would have done their own, they would have done something else. Or not. So, Nitro was definitely taking effect because you were seeing more stuff on television. And, it was the change in you would be doing matches on TV and then, the stipulation match would be at the pay-per-view or, somebody's going to be in somebody's corner or something, that would eventually be the formula into which WWF settles.
Right.
As far as this match, there was a little bit of a story. Hunter Hearst Helmsley was spraying cologne out of an atomizer. Speaking of Rick Bartel. And Fatu didn't like that. This goes about 9.5 minutes. Helmsley wins it via pinfall. So Fatu was going for a Samoan splash off the top. Triple H or Helmsley gets out of the way, and then he hits a pedigree for the win. He tried the pedigree earlier in the match, but Fatu got out of it. 1 3/4. Wade had it as a solid opener. And, look, at this point, it's pretty clear that Fatu, even though they tried this whole make a difference character with him, it really didn't make a difference.
No.
Okay. And basically he was just, unfortunately, like Bam Bam Bigelow was settling into babyface gatekeeper. And, that's, I guess that's fine, at the time. And listen, Helmsley is a guy that you're building around for the future.
Right.
So, and we have history knowing that that's exactly what happened. So a couple of bumps along the way,
Well, and eventually I think one of them would hire the other one to run over somebody with a car. But, we're ways away from that,
Exactly. Exactly.
In an In Your House opening match. The only thing I noticed was Fatu did an RKO at one point on.
I missed that. I have to go look for that.
Yeah. It was kind of like a running RKO, and they called it a modified bulldog, but it was definitely a cutter. It was definitely a cutter.
Gotcha.
But yeah, not much to the match, but perfectly fine.
And you could tell, I mean, Helmsley, Levesque, whatever, he's still kind of forming his way, like there wasn't a lot of charisma to him at this point, but you knew something was there.
Mm.
You knew something was there. So it was just, it took a little while, and basically it took I think he works Mankind. I mean, I know eventually he works Foley when Foley retires, but I think he works Mankind the following year.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
I think they had a steel. Did they have a steel cage?
They did have
match?
A steel cage match. They did
Yeah.
have a steel cage match. He works Goldust, and I mean, you're working with Dustin Rhodes at that point, so he's getting good people.
Well, and he was supposed to be 96 King of the Ring until the curtain call, and they punished him. So they were clearly visioning him to get this kind of, big push out of the gate. And so it just took a little bit longer to get there.
Took a little bit, and it took, it took a couple of girlfriends, and then a marriage to get there. So, hey.
I'm not sure whatever happened to him, though. I haven't seen him
after the match, by the way, one thing I noted in this match, I can't take Vince's cover 2 and yes, no.
Oh, God.
That's another one between What a Maneuver and cover 2, yes, no.
Every pinfall was like he thought was a 3 count, even when they kicked out at like 1. Or, I mean, there are close near falls, but sometimes there's 1, 2 kick out. It's not a near fall. It's not, the hand's not about to hit the mat for 3, but he would still go, oh, I thought he had him there. Oh, that was close. I'm like, no, it was like a pinfall in the first 30 seconds of the match, Vince. I mean, oh, you're right. That got on my nerves more in this show than it has. So maybe it was literally worse, but it seemed worse to me on this show than all the other ones we've been reviewing that Vince had a call on. So, yeah.
Not good. Also, I noted Helmsley tried headbutting Fatu in the corner. I'm like, come on, man. Can't do that with these Samoans.
No.
All right. There was a post-match. Lawler tries to talk to Helmsley, but then Henry Godwin comes out with a slop bucket. Helmsley kind of hides behind Lawler, and then Godwin chases him to the back. So that's the next feud for
a hog pen match coming up, I believe.
Yeah.
Why do I remember this crap?
Yeah, I for some reason I thought that was after the curtain call because I thought that was actually punishment.
I mean, it could be. I don't remember when it happened, but yeah.
I don't remember, and I really don't give a shit to look it up. I mean, if we come across it, we come across it. So
yeah.
Doc Hendricks talks to Cornette and Bulldog, who revels in the fact that he pinned Diesel on Raw in a 6-man tag, and he rails on Winnipeg like every babyface does to the hometown crowd. So that was a 6-man tag where basically Camp Cornette, Yokozuna, Owen, and Bulldog faced Diesel, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker, which turns out to be an infamous match for The Undertaker, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we do that, we've got a tag team championship. So the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart, the champs, who had regained the titles from Owen and Yokozuna the night after In Your House 3, take on the 1-2-3 Kid and Razor Ramon. So, we already covered the saga between Ramon and Kid. Everything was kind of worked out where Razor and Kid faced each other, and Razor pinned him like 3 times on the same night. And I don't even think I remembered that until I did my research. But
it sounds vaguely familiar now that you mention it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was supposedly where Kid was like, all right, we're good, So anyway, let's see here. There was no mention. Oh, we should mention that at the onset of the show, Gorilla Monsoon announced that Shawn Michaels would be relinquishing the IC championship. We'll talk about what happened in a little bit. and that he would be presenting it to Dean Douglas as the Intercontinental Champion, and then Dean Douglas would have to defend it against Razor Ramon. So there's like 50 things wrong there, but we'll talk about it when we get to that match. This is a little under 13 minutes. The Guns win it. So Razor hits the Razor's Edge, but then Kid wants to tag in. And I mean, in the match, you don't see any evidence of problems. It looks like everything is good. You know, everybody kissed and made up. So they discussed.
Yeah, but you did have that moment where Kid pulls the ropes down.
Yeah.
And a bit of a heelish tactic, and then he gets down and he's about to kick him, and he kind of, I can't remember which one. I think it was Billy.
It was Bart.
It was Bart. Anyways, it doesn't matter. He's going to kick him on the outside, but he kind of hesitated and just threw him in the ring. So it was like,
yes,
heel move. I'm going to do something else. I think it's interesting. Vince McMahon kept calling it aggressive tactics. He didn't want to say cheating. He didn't want to say, he's not going to say heelish, or whatever, but we're seeing some aggressive tactics from the 1, 2, 3 Kid that, and I thought it was kind of funny. But you had that little bit of story, but again, not towards Razor, just more the way he's wrestling the match was a little bit more heelish at times.
Right.
And then at the end, you get this arrogant thing where he wants to come in and be the one to actually get the pin and cost them the match.
And I think that's where they look stupid because so he tags him in and he just goes for the pin. And then Billy rolls him up into a crucifix and pins him. So it's like, I thought that made Razor look stupid because why aren't you just going for the pinfall? You just hit your finisher. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Kid is dumb for not doing anything, like do a leg drop off the top or do something. I mean, Billy's been recovering for about 30 seconds while you two lovers are, quarreling. Okay.
Right.
So I thought it, and look, this is, go ahead.
If you're going to turn Kid heel, it's okay to make him look stupid. I think Razor going along with it is what is particularly detrimental.
Yeah. I noted that if this was today, if this was a modern WWE, Razor and Kid would probably have won the titles. Like instead of the Guns, Razor and Kid probably would have beat Owen and Yoko.
Right.
But then there would have been issues. It would have been, and they might have actually even split up as tag champs because that's what they did with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, if you remember. They won. I think it was the night that what's his name? Roman Reigns revealed the cancer diagnosis, the
leukemia.
Leukemia.
Yeah.
They beat Authors of Pain. That's who it was. I think it was Authors of Pain. And then Dean just turns on him after the match. So,
right.
not to, and my point is not to get into that, but Razor and Kid probably, if that was the mentality, then they would have won the titles, but then they would have lost it, and that would have triggered the turn.
Right. And I mean, you could argue that losing the titles has more impact than not winning them. But it's not a huge difference, but there's a little bit of a difference there. If you're the champions, you lose and you get mad at each other, it's a little bit more impactful than we had a chance to win. But I don't think it's a big enough difference to really,
right. I don't think because at the time, there was still the tension between the two of them. So the story was they worked everything out, and now they're going to try to, to team the two of them. Adam Kidd in the room. I'm glad that's not a 2012 flag. I think he might be referring to your Giants.
He must be a Tigers fan.
There you go. I think so.
But, if you look back there, I can find some 2012 stuff for you, too.
Yeah, I remember that World Series, too. I was building a dresser for my daughter that we just ordered because she was turning 1. All right, let's go to the next match because I don't have a ton that I want to talk about here with that. Goldust and actually, I'm sorry. We should talk about the post match. So, Kid's pissed. He gives spinning kicks to both guns. He takes the tag belts, but then Razor comes back and he gives them to the guns. He kind of just throws them on the floor. He's like, "Come on, kid, let's get out of here."
Yeah.
Wade had this at 3.25 stars. Well played out storyline with Kid's progressive heel tendencies.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So
this might have been the highlight of the show.
Yeah.
I would say. And I'm not even going to say might have been. I think it was the highlight of the show because of the quality of the match and the storytelling and where it's leading. I think that's probably the best thing on this show.
Right. And listen, it's always good to have matches that make you want to see what's next.
Right.
A lot of times, like, this match coming up and the opening match, you don't care because there's nothing really coming out of it. And what I'm referring to here is Goldust taking on Marty Jannetty. So the story here, not much between the two of them, but Jannetty had just returned to the WWF, like his 20th return or something. He's got talk about cats having 9 lives. This dude's got like 100, Marty Jannetty. This is Goldust's pay-per-view. Now, Goldust's pay-per-view debut. I don't remember if Dustin was on I don't think he was ever on a pay-per-view in his first iteration. I can't remember.
I think he teamed with Dusty in a match at like a Royal Rumble or something.
Well, it won the 90 Rumble. I could tell you that.
No, I was going to say 89. I don't know why.
Maybe,
I don't know why but I haven't seen that since 1989. I don't know.
I'd have to look.
Yeah, it might not have been, but yeah.
Anyway, this is Goldust's pay-per-view debut. This goes about 11 minutes. Goldust wins it via pinfall after basically a face-first suplex.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Frank. It was his first televised match.
Correct.
Right, not just paper. He hadn't been on Raw or Superstars or anything else in a match, I believe.
Yeah, it's funny. I looked that up. And I was going to document it in my notes, and I didn't. He did work a dark.
He did a dark, but probably did some house shows.
He worked Holly at 3.
Yeah.
But I believe this is his first match on camera.
Yeah. And they were surprised that he was wearing a wig.
Yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, by the way, my cat Biscuit is going to be entering the chat here in a minute because he's decided to jump on the table. So if you see a cat momentarily, that's what he does when I do these shows.
My dog was in here earlier, but I guess she's gone. I thought she might end up on my lap at some point, but she got bored of me and she's gone. So
there you go. All right. Wade has this at 2 stars, a bit too slow during the rest holds, and the miscommunication at the end hurt an otherwise pretty good match. So the miscommunication he's talking about was Jannetty was coming off the top. Goldust was supposed to raise his leg, and he didn't. So Jannetty just stopped, and they improvised, but then they eventually got it done. There was another one where Jannetty missed time going down. Like Goldust hit a clothesline, and Jannetty went down too early.
Yeah.
And then there was a backdrop by Goldust, but Jannetty was going over his back. But I don't know that that's what he was trying to do. I think it was a miscommunication. It's something that he tried to do with the leg. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wrote in my notes a lot of sloppiness.
Very sloppy.
I also thought it was a weird start because this is Goldust's first match.
Bingo.
And what happened? Jannetty comes out, and what was it that they kept talking about was the mind games. Goldust is playing mind games. He's getting in his opponent's head. He's trying to psych him out. And what happened? Jannetty just ran at him and started hot, and he took the fight to Goldust. Goldust mind games didn't work at all.
Right.
It doesn't, and for his first match, it didn't make any sense.
Correct.
And he took a wicked bump on that clothesline on the outside, which was a great move, but it didn't make sense in this context.
Marty Jannetty was working 1993 Dustin Rhodes in this match if he had turned heel.
Yeah.
Like that's what he was doing. And it's a weird match too, because like, okay, is Marty Jannetty going to be your world champion? No. But when he's in the building and he's not blowing coke up his nose, all right, he's a useful talent. Okay.
Right.
So I'm not saying that he has to be booked, but you want to book him solidly because you want him to be useful. Well, you have Goldust making his debut, to your point. So you want Goldust to be strong. And basically, this is a match where Marty dominated.
Yeah.
And how is that creating a great first impression for one of you, especially one that you promoted via vignette? You're doing this whole entrance. Yeah, I mean, you're doing this whole entrance with the gold, and then Vince talked about the gold, and even emphasized how he wanted this for his exit too.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got all this going on. Dustin has talked about this. He didn't talk about it in the book, but he really at this point didn't know what he wanted to do as Goldust yet. Like he still kind of worked as Dustin.
Yeah.
Match, so he really hadn't figured out Goldust yet.
Right. And that makes sense.
Right. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know that I would have debuted him on a pay-per-view against Jannetty. I mean, I might have taken the dark match against Bob Holly and put that on TV.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
Then let him friggin' beat Doink the Clown for all I give a shit. Like,
But that's the whole point of squash matches.
Right. Which is what
point.
they did back then. That's how they built people up.
Right.
I mean, they don't, it's a lot different now. I mean, it's very similar to, I remember Wade and I talking about Jay White's debut on Dynamite, where the guy's going 50-50 with freaking Commander. It's like, like,
yeah.
So, it's a different time and it's a different situation, but it's kind of the same issue where you have this very impressive character, and you're having him just, I mean, Marty's not a nobody, but yeah, it's just not the right, not the right situation for.
And I will say for myself, I watched Dustin when he was like 19 in that with Dusty. And as I mentioned earlier, I would occasionally tune in to WCW Saturday night. So I would see Dustin Rhodes, Rick Rude, some of these guys who had been in WWF when I first started watching, and then I would get introduced to a Sting, a Cactus Jack, a Vader. So I had seen him enough, but when he was Goldust in those vignettes, I had no clue, and I did not follow behind the scenes. I was not a Torch reader in 1995 yet. I was not. I had no clue that it was Dustin Rhodes doing it until he took off his wig in this match, and I remember to this day, 30 years later, or whatever. Are we 30 years? Good God, 30 years later, thinking at the time, oh my God, it's Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
And I had a friend in high school, because I was 16 at the time. I had a friend in high school who was a fan also, and we had been talking about Goldust from these vignettes, and he saw it, and we got together the next day at school on Monday morning, and we walked up to him, and we were both at the same time like, Goldust is Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
And he had the same exact reaction
That's
as
awesome.
me. He had no clue who it was. As soon as he took off the wig, it was like Clark Kent in the glasses.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't think I figured it out that way. I think I read about it, and then I was like, "Oh, Goldust, duh!"
Yeah, that's so clever.
Dustin Rhodes. How about that? I think. I bought. I wasn't like a subscriber, but occasionally I'd buy a magazine, just to see what was going on behind the scenes. So that's how I figured it out. All right. We really need help if we talk a lot about this next match, because this absolutely sucked. King Mabel against Yokozuna. So the story here.
I didn't even write it down. I didn't think you were starting to say it. I was like, what's wrong with the next match? I didn't even write it down. I had nothing to say.
Yeah, I'll cover it. We'll cover it real quick. So the story, but we do have to talk about the story here, was that this was the match. Excuse me. This was the match where Mabel injured Undertaker's eye orbital. So they were punishing, it was the 6-man. They were punishing the Undertaker after the match, and they were dropping, I think Yokozuna was dropping a leg on him, and then Mabel was doing it, and that's where Undertaker got injured. So as punishment, Gorilla Monsoon made them face each other, which, you know, I like that. I like that. All right. You guys screwed up. Now you got to wrestle each other. All right. Problem is, Gorilla, these two guys can't work for shit, at least against each other. Okay. Yeah. So this goes a little over 5 minutes. It's a double count out. Mabel, he tries to execute a bulldog, but he doesn't do it correctly. Yoko goes to the outside. Yoko shoves Mabel into a post, but then Mo gets involved and he knocks Cornette down. And for some reason, Yokozuna falls on Jim Cornette. Mabel, it's a train wreck. I mean, listen, you know what? I like the visual. I like the visual of the two big guys. I'm always into that, but you got to work, and these guys just could not do it. They couldn't. Yeah. Mabel did hit one flying clothesline. I'll give him that. That was impressive. And Yoko bumps to the outside. One thing I did also note, Yoko was starting to get cheers in this match. So I wonder, because sometimes Vince does things on purpose. And I'm wondering if because Yoko does eventually turn heel. I wonder if he wanted to see if Yoko would get that reaction.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You know, because he did it with Snake and Savage in '86 on Saturday Night's Main Event. They were both heels, right?
He did it with himself. In a house show, cutting a heel promo before he did the evil McMahon, Mr. McMahon.
Mr. McMahon. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very likely. Because again, you've taken the titles off of them. That team ran its course. What else are you going to do with Yoko? At some point, we've talked kind of throughout this year, his progression, with his weight and other issues. You can't rely on him in a big match, a singles match. But maybe you can turn him face and you can do something with him, which again, they do eventually.
Yeah, and he works a lot of tags. He works a lot of 6-mans because he can't move. I mean, they tried sending him to camp to lose weight. He wouldn't do it. I fully convinced that he would have been a challenger to Diesel.
Yeah.
They would have revisited Brett and Yoko. Brett won the title.
Yeah.
So he would have gotten title. Vince liked Yokozuna. He did. Yeah. He liked him.
Vince liked, for all of his racist tendencies, he liked Samoans.
Yeah.
He might portray him as a Japanese guy, but he liked
he pushed Yoko. He liked Yoko, and he, he just said he lost the weight. He would have, what are you going to do? I'm one to talk about weight. Wade had this at a 1/4 star, except for a few bumps through the floor. Through the ropes to the floor, a nothing match. Only interesting if you were intrigued by the size of the two wrestlers.
Which we weren't.
Yeah. Wade's being generous. I gave it a dud.
Yeah,
So
we can move on.
We can move on. And I might get angry at the next match because this is Razor Ramon against Dean Douglas. So this is the famous story where Shawn Michaels got beat up. Now, the story is like it's one Marine. It was 9 Marines. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, he got beat, and he clearly did get beat up. I mean, you can see
he got beat up.
Was swollen. So, Bulldog was involved. 1, 2, 3 Kid was involved. Kid didn't suffer as many injuries. Bulldog had like a swollen eye, supposedly. I wouldn't screw with the British Bulldog. Okay.
No.
But Michaels, not for nothing. I mean, Michaels could get messed with. Because he doesn't have that tough guy look. Bulldog did. Anyway, so the ruling was that Shawn, who had suffered a concussion, and this is where I'm going to get pissed off, who had suffered a concussion, had to come to the arena and relinquish the title. Somebody has a concussion. Why are they coming to the arena?
Right.
Makes no sense.
Flying to another country.
Yeah. Right. Right. Because this took place in Syracuse. They didn't drive to Winnipeg.
Right.
So explain to me why he's flying to Winnipeg after suffering a concussion. It makes absolutely no sense. And that's why the whole story is skeptical to me, but I'll take it at face value. I'm not, I don't have the insight to find out what really happened.
Well, he wasn't home looking for his smile yet. We know that.
No. He hadn't lost it yet. He might have lost it that night, but he found it in the car or something.
Yeah, maybe he started to lose it a little.
Oh my God. So, and Wade even talked about this in the newsletter. How is this a fan-friendly president? That's a heel move. You're taking the title and you're putting it on a heel who didn't even do anything to win the match. Now, I don't know in the territories, Mid-South or whatever, and maybe people in the chat can help me, like in cases like this where the champion couldn't defend the title, so he surrenders it to the challenger.
I mean, I think if you think of it as a forfeit,
Rey Mysterio and Samoa Joe.
Well, I mean, if you call it a forfeit, he can't wrestle. I didn't have as much a problem with it because
no, leave it. Sorry,
you're making him defend the title right away, so it didn't bother me as much, I guess, because I guess they could have held it up and said, now this match is going to be to crown a new champion. You don't want to necessarily drag it out to do a tournament or something else. So,
and why make Shawn Michaels come out? Now, I wonder if that was Shawn. I wonder if, because sometimes with him, I wonder if he wanted to come out and have the visual of getting beaten up.
Yeah, it's
for whatever reason.
Or just wants to be on camera.
Biscuit!
So Frank has taken momentary leave of
I'll tell you what's going on. So I have the Ranger game on quietly. So what my cat likes to do when I have hockey on, he actually paws at the puck and paws at the hockey sticks. Because the TV, it's like on the wall, and I have a little a mini wall unit underneath. So he gets on it and he paws at the screen at the puck and the sticks.
Excellent.
It's a freaking cat. All right. I mean, you had a very simple story here that you could have told. It's a small tweak, and I think this works a little bit better. Instead of having Shawn come out, you just say, look, Shawn is unable to defend the championship tonight, so he will be forced to forfeit it. I have decided that the last Intercontinental Champion before him was Razor Ramon. He will compete against the man who beat him the previous month, Dean Douglas. And now what you do is you connect the last pay-per-view to this one.
Right.
Okay? And you're respecting the fact that Razor was because he was the most recent Intercontinental Champion. Now, it was actually Jeff Jarrett, but he wasn't on property anymore. Before that was Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
Because you have to, not for nothing, Razor had lost to Dean Douglas. So the fact that he's even in the match is egregious in and of itself. But
right. But he's a big enough star. You can tell that story.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Exactly.
And no one's going to complain. But yeah,
I just didn't like the fact that they made Shawn come out. Unless that's what he wanted to do for his little ego, okay?
Which wouldn't surprise us.
To make a whole big showing of it, because look at me, I'm surrendering the title,
Well, he probably gets a payday for being there. He wouldn't have gotten a payday
for being there. And also, I think there might have been a little something with Douglas, going back to the things with the Click and Douglas. Here's your Intercontinental Championship. And
you have to act a fool by celebrating like you just won the World Series or the Super Bowl. Yeah.
So
he even says that was easy, which I thought was pretty funny.
So there might have been a little something, a little undertone there with that. I wouldn't be surprised with Michaels, but this goes 11 minutes. So the finish of this is really bad.
Oh, it's terrible.
Off the rope. right? Razor gives him a back suplex near the ropes. Okay. He drapes his arm over Douglas. Meanwhile, his shoulders are on the mat as well. Douglas's leg is completely like over the ring apron, and I think the referee was Tim White, and he just counts to 3. Now, it's like an insult to my intelligence because as a referee, if a wrestler is near the ropes, you're not checking to see if his feet are there.
Right. It's hard to imagine not seeing it. It was not subtle.
And Razor's shoulders were down.
That one doesn't bother me as much because Dean's doesn't have anything over him, so it's not. I mean, you can lay on the mat if no one's touching you. So that one, but the announcers did bring it up multiple times, so that was clearly part of the story. To your point, it didn't bother me as much, but yeah, this match was not as good as their last match.
No,
I wrote down very slow start. I did write down a line. I like to occasionally write down a Jerry Lawler line that makes me laugh. Douglas had raked the eyes or done an eye gouge at one point early on in Razor, and Lawler said a Dean has to dot the I's, which I thought was a pretty funny line.
That's funny.
The other thing, and I'm just going to throw this out there, this could be in almost every Razor Scott Hall match. For all of his wrestling IQ, I absolutely hated the Razor's Edge back body drop over the top rope spot that he did frequently. And he does it here because the only time Razor Ramon or Scott Hall ever set up that move near the ropes was when he was going to be backdropped, because he can't do the move when he's that close to the ropes.
Right.
He would always do it with his back away from the ropes, except for when he's going to get backdropped. Drives me crazy. It's a cool looking spot because he gets back body dropped over the ring. It's a good bump, but man, that's a stupid spot. And I hated it in 95. I hated it in 97 when he was still doing it as the Outsiders.
Yeah.
I always hated that spot.
I have to see that again.
Yeah, I have to do my little rant there, but throw that in with the crap ending. This was a bad match. I'm just top to bottom, just not even good match, crap finish. I'm saying it was a bad match.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's funny because like earlier, Douglas actually breaks the count by reaching the ropes. So you have a spot where he's near the ropes and he breaks the count. And then you have another spot where you, the ref, see he's by the ropes and you're not even looking.
Yeah, and you could tell the story. Well, first of all, a back suplex. Not even like the avalanche style that Razor did, and he had attempted to do earlier in the match and got elbowed out of it. It's just a standing back suplex. It hasn't finished a match since 1964. And like, you could have at least done it with the avalanche style where you could see it potentially beating Douglas. And I think one of the announcers, I can't remember if maybe the King, covered it a little and said, well, Dean didn't think he had to kick out because he had his foot under the ropes.
Yeah, no, he said, you're right. He said that.
Yeah, that at least there, it's almost like they recognize this is really stupid. What can we say to make it better? And that was a good line, but really. And then Razor, you could almost tell Scott Hall's sitting there thinking this is stupid, but he gave that little kind of sly wink to the camera as he's getting the belt, like, I got away with one here. I mean, and I think that was both in character and out.
Right.
Like, he had to know that was crap.
Yeah.
I got to think Shane Douglas knew it was crap.
So you wanted to make Douglas look bad? Like, I like, what's the gain out of, like,
I mean, you're trying to protect, you could make an argument you're trying to protect Douglas, but this is a spot that they do with baby faces to protect a baby face. Why are you protecting the heel? I'm not saying it would have been great if it had been a baby face, but I could maybe understand it more. And again, the execution it's like a bad concept and a bad execution.
Right.
So,
right.
Nothing redeemable here, I don't think.
protect him. I mean, like, cause I don't even think he gets it. I mean, he doesn't get, he's involved at Survivor Series. And then he gets into it with Vince. Vince made him, actually, Vince basically fired him.
Yeah.
And apparently he didn't pay. I mean, let's be honest. Shane Douglas never set foot on WWE property again. So, I believe what I read, where he wasn't paid what he said he was going to get, or what Vince told him he was going to be paid. And there was an instance where he was hurt, and Vince didn't believe him, and
Right.
he basically made him walk. He basically fired him.
Right. Yeah.
And was that the Click influence? I mean, again, you add up all the pieces and you see what happened, and you could see there's definitely an issue.
Sure.
But again, you're the boss. You hired this guy. You had plans for him. You wanted him to be the Intercontinental Champion. Okay,
Right.
Be the boss.
Right.
Who cares? I mean, what do you think? Everybody's going to walk out on you? I mean, so let them. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's just.
Well, and we've had issues just right before this. Luger leaving, Jarrett leaving, Rhodey leaving, although he doesn't stay gone long, but
he's back. I think the following, and they were actually, Vince and Jarrett were actually talking. Like, they were actually talking. So, but yeah, I mean, between Douglas, between Lafitte, I mean, that's two guys that would have been useful, and look what happens the following year anyway. Scott and Kevin take off.
Yeah, and Kid, who you're about to turn heel also. Yeah.
And Kid's gone too. So all the guys that you're listening to and all the guys that are in your ear, they're all gone. You could have had Shane Douglas, you could have had Lafitte, you could have had, a nice solid base of, you had Vader coming in, you had Ron Simmons. Like, you could have had this really solid base of talent. And, think of all the challengers that Shawn would have had. I mean, they had to scrape the bottom of the barrel for Shawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily like Foley or Vader, but you know what I mean? Like, it was them two and Bulldog. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. At some point, I didn't document it, but at some point, Medusa, Alundra Blaze comes out and advertises some shirt, and I think they also advertised the Two Dudes with Attitudes or some shirt. Maybe that was the previous.
I think the Two Dudes was this one, and Alundra was the first one, number 3, but I don't remember for sure. But I think that's what happened. Yeah,
I know she comes out at some point.
Yeah,
and, we're not too far away from Trashgate.
I was gonna say, I mean, she's a diva at that point. I mean, they're not using the term, but I'm saying you've got this woman wrestler, and instead of using her as a wrestler, you're having her as a model,
right?
To sell a T-shirt. You might as well have, called her a diva. We know Sunny's in the company at this point. We're not too far away from Sable, so we're getting close to that Divas era, and not that the women's wrestling in WWF was ever good before that, but we've talked a little bit about they could have done something with not Bertha Faye.
No, I think you're right.
Bull
Nakano.
Nakano. They could have, done something more with her. They could have done something more with Medusa Blaze. But it just didn't matter. You'd rather
not the way this man thinks. I mean, and we know how he thinks now. I mean, we know everything now that we need to know. I mean,
exactly.
Just not the way this bastard thinks. All right. Bret Hart comes out. He's going to join the commentary table, and I'm like, wait a minute, how are they going to handle this with Jerry Lawler? And they do this like that, and I thought it was actually kind of funny.
That was good.
Kind of cat and mouse thing, and then Jerry tries to come back. Bret keeps chasing him. So
I can't remember if it's one of the events we've done. I don't think so. I don't think they've gotten there yet. I don't remember. I think it's the Iron Man match. The build to the Iron Man match is, I think, when this happened. It doesn't matter, but I remember the King talking about it and like hyping and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I don't care if Sean and Brett, if I'm right about the match, I don't care if Sean and Brett, are friends now. After like wrestling for an hour, Sean's going to be Brett's biggest enemy. And then he said, well, I'm always going to be Brett's biggest enemy. But Sean will be like number two or whoever that matchup
Exactly.
was. I remember that line. I always thought that was great. It was like no matter what happened, the King was always gonna
Yeah.
hate Brett. And you get that little bit here too where and they're kind of like this match with Lafitte was like a little sidebar between the Lawler Isaac Yankem Brett feud, but yeah, chase off the King and you don't have to have four people on heads.
Correct. And they do pay off Brett and Yankem in a cage not too long after this event on Raw.
Yeah.
So thank God for that. It's funny.
Whatever happened to Yanka?
Yeah, right. Well, he's I don't think he's there for long, and then the fake Diesel is what? I think
Next summer.
Following year around
Yeah.
this time, maybe a little bit earlier. Yeah, so he does
Summer
that.
or early fall, I think.
Yeah, and then obviously after that, Kane.
Although we will say another, Glenn Jacobs, another important part of the Attitude Era for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Another piece that he hadn't fallen into the right place yet, but the piece is there to work.
A lot of the future is in the building. It's just getting everybody organized for sure. One thing I'll say, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I want to get to the match and close this out. Jerry really brought out the best in Brett.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like Jerry was the one that brought out the Brett's ability to have a personal feud. Like he really hadn't had a personal feud prior to Jerry. He had great matches. He had great tag matches, but he didn't have a feud with Hennig over the IC title. He just got the match.
Right.
They did a little bit of, a family thing with Bulldog going into SummerSlam. Okay.
But that's not the same. Yeah.
Right. They did a little thing with Piper, but that was, again, that was just, that was Piper wanting to pass the torch to Brett. And God bless Roddy. I love Roddy Piper for what he did for Brett. But he really hadn't had that personal feud, Even Yoko wasn't really a personal feud. There was no heat.
It was Royal Rumble winner.
It was just matches. It was just matches.
Yeah.
So I thought Jerry really brought out the best in Brett. And I think he was happy to do it too. I really did. All right. Your main event is the WWF Championship. It's Diesel defending against the British Bulldog. So we talked a little bit about the story here. The Bulldog had beat the Undertaker via DQ, and Mabel interfered, and he had pinned Diesel in the six-man tag. We talked about that already. That's the one where Undertaker infamously gets hurt. So, and remember, Bulldog had turned on Diesel prior to SummerSlam. Right. So this goes about 18 minutes. Bulldog wins it via DQ. So Diesel has a hard time running to give his sit splash on the ropes because the story in the match was Diesel was having issues with his knee. And Jim Ross highlighted that. He had multiple knee surgeries throughout the years. They both fall to the outside. Bulldog goes after Brett. And then when Bulldog goes into the ring, Brett attacks him to cause the DQ. Now, mind you, Brett is already getting the winner at Survivor Series 95. That's already in place.
Right.
So anyway, Brett didn't like that Bulldog went after him. Brett went after the Bulldog, and that caused the DQ. Afterwards, Brett and Diesel go at it. Diesel's pissed because Brett interfered, and you get refs, producers, and other wrestlers trying to pull both guys apart. It's actually it's not a bad brawl. I mean, it's actually a pretty good brawl.
It's a good brawl, yeah.
But the problem
and it wasn't overdone back then like it has become.
Right.
Yeah.
The problem is it's another crap finish, okay? And it's not even a good match. I mean, supposedly Vince, when the cameras went off there, threw his headset down and said fucking horrible. And to the point where Davey went back and he apologized to the producer. Supposedly Vince went off on Bruce Pritchard. Now, John, I watched the match. It's not a good match. But the way it started, I didn't think it was bad. Because if the story you're telling was that Davey is going after the knee, well, that's what he was doing. The problem is I didn't need to see it a second time. I didn't need to see it a third time. I didn't need to see it a fourth time. And it kept going. It was the same move over and over. And you could tell the crowd's getting impatient. You know?
Right.
I don't even know if the crowd was getting impatient. I think the crowd was just flat.
Yeah.
I think they just didn't care. You know? And the thing that I noted was they just didn't have an answer as to what was going to happen next. And I mean, this is it's one thing. Look, it's one thing for Davey to work Brett and to work tag matches and, working with Owen or working against, whatever. But this is now a world title match, and you've got to bring a lot more.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, I don't know what was going on with Diesel in this match, but Kevin looked completely checked out.
Yeah.
He looked completely checked out. He has said, I don't know if it's true or not, but when Vince was pissed, he said that was a sign to him that his time in the WWF was his days were numbered in the WWF. So, anyway, I said a lot. You, what did you think of this match?
Yeah, I mean, I had kind of read some of the same stuff about Vince being upset, so I think I was expecting it to be worse than it was, if I'm being honest. Because it's not like we haven't seen bad matches in this era that Vince didn't blow up on. I will say, I mean, it's easy to execute a chop block, right? It's easy to execute some elbow drops on a knee, some stomps on a knee, etc. Bulldog didn't seem to know how to execute the leg locks he was trying to do.
Oh, they look terrible.
One of them was okay. It might have been like a Boston Crab or something that was okay. But the other, in fact, it was weird though, because Diesel could clearly reach out to the ropes. It was executed too close to the corner, and he was
doing like he was trying to get like a clover leaf, but he was like,
the first one was like a clover leaf, and like Brett even said, like, well, this is putting a little bit of pressure on Diesel's knee, but not enough. He needs to execute it better. So that was the first one. Then there was a bad looking.
Was it me or was Brett getting impatient watching this match? Like, Davey, what are you doing?
Oh, 100%. 100. You could tell. And then he did a kind of a bad looking, I think it was a single leg Boston Crab, a single crab that was bad looking. Now, as I said, I think he had a good looking Boston Crab on him, but it was poorly placed in the ring because it was totally unbelievable that Diesel at 8 feet tall couldn't have reached the ropes where he was. But that wasn't the story they were telling. So that move needed to be executed in the middle of the ring, and it would have been much better.
Right.
And then at the end, he does the sharpshooter, and it might be the worst sharpshooter in the history of wrestling. And so
he couldn't even lock it in. I think he was trying to figure it out.
It's like he didn't practice it, or he. And I mean, look,
Brett's sitting there like, "Oh my god, this is my brother."
And that's when Brett made a few comments that you could tell he was upset because that's his move.
Yeah.
And
so, how Brett gets. Brett gets happening. So he's very,
It was not good. But again, was it horrible? No, it was not good, but it could have been worse. I guess I maybe thought it was going to be worse. But then, hey, Vince is the one who booked the crap ending, the worst part of it.
Right.
And so you're just kind of like, again, what are we doing here? And nowadays, you book that ending, Bulldog's going to get a rematch the next night on Raw or like a week later on Raw.
Sure.
There's no rematch. There's no recourse. It's just kind of like, well, Bulldog won, but he's not the champion, and he's never going to get a title match again. I mean, it just, Not good
So
storytelling.
I wonder if they booked it this way because they already planned Brett and Davey at In Your House 5. So they wanted Bulldog to get the win, but not obviously the title. And
yeah, that makes sense.
You do the brawl at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I think you're right. That's the
it's a
thinking behind it.
rationalization, though, John. It's a rationalization.
Well, yeah, and like we say, you want to get from point A to point B, and you can come up with 7 different ways. Why do you always pick the worst one?
Well, again,
we can come up with better stories that they could tell to get to a Bulldog Brett title match at In Your House 5, which I'm guessing was December, right? So
December, it's after Survivor Series. Yep.
Right. So you can get there without having this match. I mean, but it made sense to have this match, but yeah.
Again, it's
not good.
we're getting into bad habits. This is where these Monday Night Wars put wrestling in bad habits. Well, let's do a crap finish because that'll pull people in and that'll get you. But the problem is you get people that watch these matches and they begin to lose trust in the promotions because you're not delivering a finish.
Right. So and it's also a symptom. Sorry, it's also a symptom of the monthly pay-per-views.
Bingo.
It's that combination of we've got to put good big matches on Raw or Nitro to compete with Raw. Bischoff kind of started it to Hot Shot, and then McMahon followed suit. And then you're also having to have, so that's why you're getting, well, Davey Boy is having this match, but he's going to be on Raw to face The Undertaker, and then he's going to be on, Raw the next week to face
and they did a crumb finish against The Undertaker.
Right.
And they did a crumb finish in the 6-man. Well, kind of, but it was still a crumb finish because it was Yoko drops the leg on Diesel and Davey goes against the pin. So it's another crumb finish. So tell me when we get an actual finish. I mean, we get it at Survivor Series.
We get it at Survivor Series. You're going to get it at WrestleMania, but even WrestleMania has the overtime, which is still a clean finish, but it's,
right.
it's a fuzzy finish. It gives Brett the out to say, hey, he didn't beat me in an hour. It was supposed to be an hour. He had that he could go back on and complain about, but it's always something, right?
Correct.
It's always something. And
now, but I think your point plays more about this, and this is why I really wanted to do this year start to finish. Not necessarily because the pay-per-views were great, but what the WWF was transforming into.
Right.
We were getting away from the quarterly pay-per-views and now getting into monthly pay-per-views. So you see now what the finishes are like. You see now how they have to book. They've got to book Raw and they've got to book superstars to connect to the pay-per-view.
Right.
And it's also the Nitro effect. I mean, they did Hogan and Luger on the September 11th edition of Nitro. So what does McMahon counter with? He counters with Sid and Shawn for the IC title. As I said, that probably would have been on the pay-per-view, but now he's got to figure out how do I. So I understand it. You know what I mean? I understand it, and I can empathize with it to a point, but still, at some point, you've got to have the courage to book. I mean, there's no reason where Davey can't take a pin from your world champion and then figure out a way for him to earn a match later on.
Right.
You just did it. I mean, Tony Khan just did it with Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
He lost. He's getting another match again,
Well, we just said Razor lost to Dean the previous month. And he gets that IC title match. So, you can do it, especially when it's a few months down the road where you can tell a story.
Right.
You can give Davey Boy a few big wins on Raw, give him a big win on Survivor Series and say, well, he did lose to Diesel, at In Your House 3, but look, since then, He beat A, he beat B, he beat C, and he has earned this title match. And
Right.
you've got the built-in family dynamic that people are
Exactly.
going to pay, and the the SummerSlam Wembley rematch aspect of it, right? You've got all of that going, so he didn't need to be protected here.
And
That's the ultimate point.
Brett could do the baby face thing. I don't care if he lost. I want him in a match.
Right.
It's been done before. Wade talks about it all. It's been done before. So, yeah. In Your House 4. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or Doc Bruce thumbs in the middle.
Definite thumbs down.
Yeah, I gotta, because there's nothing. Would I rewatch the tag title match? Maybe, sure, but yeah, no,
not enough. Not enough. No,
it's a thumbs down. So, all right, John. Next up is going to be Survivor Series 95. We'll talk off air when we're going to do that. How we're going to play that is I'll have you talk more on that because I've already done that show with Tyler, but we weren't on YouTube at the time, and you're going to have a different perspective. I don't know if I'm going to recruit a third person. Is he the third man? We'll see, because I want to respect the fact that Tyler and I did that. And not saying I'm not going to talk about things. I'm obviously will, but I'm going to lean more on you.
Sure.
When we cover that, because I don't mind covering that show again. That was honestly, that's one of my favorite Survivor Series. 95 is a great show. It's thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Well, you're giving me hope.
No, it's a great show.
Then, but yeah,
it's got a great opener. I think it's Marty. Who the hell is it? Marty, Barry, Hakushi, and I forget who else against Kid, against the $1 Million Corporation. I think it's the Underdog. Yeah, I have to look it up, but it's an underrated match. It's a really great match. Brett and Diesel's awesome.
Yeah.
A couple of, that's where Bill Watts came up with the wild card.
Which they plugged on this show, which I thought
they alluded to it. Yeah, but they didn't get into it, which I thought was interesting. But the problem is, like, the Bulldog is on the babyface side, and you just turned him heel, and I'm already having a hard time accepting the Bulldog as a heel. And it kind of like aesthetically looks right with him on the baby face.
Right.
It's like, so, yeah. So, but now I'm going to enjoy covering that show again. I will spoil this. You will not enjoy Perfect's commentary because he absolutely sucks on this show. He absolutely is annoying.
I'll
like
hold off
Kurt
my
too.
judgment. I'll hold off my judgment because he's one of those people who can he's absolutely perfect in my eyes. So we'll see.
Kurt's one of my favorites. There's no question about it, but he absolutely blows on this show. So yeah.
I like how you build it up for me. It's a definite thumbs up show. But by the way, the announcing is going to absolutely suck. Here's something to look forward to.
Frank on fire, baby. I'm back. All right, John, it's always a pleasure to do these. And, like I said, we'll set it up here for Survivor Series 95. I'm looking forward to it. This was
good. I'll look forward to it too.
Yeah, and in these shows, listen, you know what? I enjoy them. They're not, like I said at the outset, they're not hard to watch. They're nice and short, and we have a lot of fun. I got a couple of laughs.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome. All right. Real quick, everybody should know your work. Just give a quick plug to what you do for the Torch, and we'll check out.
Yeah, so I do the Raw hits and misses. It's been mostly coming out on. I've been much better this year. I'm getting them on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays. So you can check that out at pwtorch.com, usually sometime Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. What I like is a hit. What I don't like is a miss. It's a high concept. article, but you can catch me there, and you can follow me on Blue Sky at Jon Mezzera. I'm very clever with my name, so that's the way to follow me. That's my only social, so check me out there, and I'll potentially follow you back if you're interested.
There you go. There
I'm
you
not
go.
gonna promise anything.
I guess I was interesting 7 years ago when you fought, but actually we spoke on
We
Wrestling Night in
spoke.
America. So yeah,
We
so there you go.
spoke back in the day, Greg Parks, back in the day. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. He should probably be the third. We should do it.
That'd
We
be
should. Pro-
fun. I haven't
that
done a
would.
show with Greg since like last
Yeah,
September.
since he stopped doing Wrestling Night in
Since
America
yeah,
as a regular anyway.
I was on one of the last ones. I was on like I think he announced the next week that he was gonna stop doing it the week
Yeah,
after I was on the last time. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That was a lot of fun, that show.
yeah.
All right, guys. You can follow me X, Facebook, and Instagram at Frank Peteani. That's at Frank Peteani. Blue Sky, you just got to throw a 73 at the end. I don't post a lot, but if you message me, I'll get back to you. So feel free to do so. And for Jon Mezzera, I am Torch contributor Frank Peteani saying if you are looking for nostalgia, you have come to the right place where we talk pro wrestling then and now. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.